The evidence that was tabled to us showed that we had sufficient evidence in most of those cases to prosecute. In some of the cases, the investigating officers themselves submitted affidavits to say that they produced evidence that was not complete, that some of the evidence were actually tampered with, and some were even forged.
Now, 36 bodies of Shakahala victims have been autopsied, among them 10 children. Government pathologist Johnson Odoro says 16 victims died of starvation, 1 head injury and another on strangulation.
We took samples as usual, analysis, which include DNA, because we are unable to state whether identity of this person, and DNA will help us. So far, we've not seen any person who has a missing organ. All the persons we've done autopsy on have their organs intact. When someone decomposes so much, you find that the organs are also decomposed, and that doesn't mean that it is missing. It just means that the organs are decomposed.
Now, the government will release 28 billion shillings to primary schools, junior and senior secondary schools in the country by Friday this week. Speaking in Siaya County Education, CS Ezekiel Machogu said that each pupil in primary school will receive 1,450, and those in junior and senior secondary schools 15,040 shillings and 22,240 shillings respectively. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
You tuned into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanya.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes?
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, you know, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aye, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda.
I mean, I don't know. What are they saying? How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of the
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Okay, how's everybody doing today? A little bit of traffic here and there starting to build up in different parts of the city. Let's look at the Thika Superhighway. And there's some coming off of that junction, coming from all stops. You'll be fine on Mombasa Road, heading out into the city. Coming out of Westlands, we're not seeing too much. The routes are telling us that it's looking busy on Mombasa Road, and that's up coming in from Signature. So not quite sure what's causing that, but we'll have a look-see in a short while. It doesn't matter because Wednesday is starting off right. If you've left early, then you're all right. Let's see what happens in a short while and talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punch.
Yes, it's the only way to start your day. It's Wednesday. Hey, Ednah, this light is a bit much. Can't even see myself. A bit better. Yes, thank you. Ndu.
Yes.
Otherwise, uko fiti?
Uko fresh.
Umeamkaje? Kalamkadze.
Kwema.
Kalamkadze. You remember?
Yeah.
Negiriema?
I remember. I can't quite remember the response, but hey.
Salamkadze.
Yo.
Have you umeamkaje? Unasema nimeamka.
Salamka. Mambo ni aje?
Poa sana.
Siti?
Yes, please.
How you doing?
Thank you very much.
What?
I'm very well, thank you.
Hey. Thank you very much.
Yes.
That's how you start.
Yes. Well,
asante sana bwana MC.
Asante sana, nashukuru sana. Thank you. Kila mtu asante sana. Yes, we're thanking people for
kwa kunipatia nafasi hii.
Yes. Ya kusema asubuhi, morning. Yes, na pia tukiendelea na hii.
Hamjambo kila mtu.
Sisi hatujambo sote. Na kila mtu aseme amen. Amen.
Barikiwe sana.
Right. How are you, Eric?
I'm very well.
How is the cold treating you?
It's getting better.
I'm not referring to the weather here. I am referring to
the cold virus.
The cold virus, yes.
It has treated me the way it has treated me. And then my body has also done like the thing to it.
The body has told it to stop joking.
Meambia hapana.
Tafuta mtu mwingine kucheza naye.
Kuendangi hivi. No.
Nataka mchezo yako.
No. But then those people who just, and it's not just the person who does this in our studio, but very many people, when they think of AC, they think
full blast
that it must be the coldest temperature, as in you have to go to the lowest setting.
After all,
but that's not the whole essence of an AC, man. Eish. You can put the AC at room temperature and you'll be fine.
And you'll be all right.
You know. Hey.
In fact, you will actually feel a lot better.
And that's what you should be doing. So you should be regulating the temperature to what is normally room temperature, which is what the body is used to. So in cold seasons or in a cold room, you raise it. In very hot room, you lower it to room temperature.
Like that.
Hii mambo ingine hii watu wanafanya is very, very crazy. It's very crazy. So let me tell you, we'll have several conversations today, and I'll tell you about them. Right? Number one conversation is in commemoration of today being No Tobacco Day, World No Tobacco Day.
World Tobacco Day.
No Tobacco.
Okay,
Day.
World No Tobacco Day.
Yes.
Not World Tobacco Day. Not
Yes.
the day we celebrate tobacco. The day we celebrate no tobacco.
No tobacco. Today, May 31st, is that day. It's No Tobacco Day. And there have been various campaigns across the globe to actually reduce farming of tobacco and push towards actually discouraging people from farming tobacco. If there's no commercial value for farming tobacco, then farmers will move into something else. So it's those alternatives that have been discussed various times by various people. And we'll be joined by two ladies this morning at 7 a.m. to have that conversation, the push to stop tobacco farming in Kenya. Rachel Kitonyo Devotsu has been here before. She is a big campaigner on issues of cancer. She's the regional manager for Africa at Maccabi Center for Law and Cancer. She'll be joined by Jane Wambogo, who is the Deputy Director for Agriculture at the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. The two ladies join us at 7 a.m. for that conversation. And then at 8 o'clock, we talk about the politics of taxation and everything else that's happening. The Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, Seth Panyako, is also the registered Vice Chairman of UDA, the ruling party. But he says he is quitting this party because this party is pushing through new taxation measures that are going to hurt his members. And he says no. So he will come and tell us, are you an official of this party? Are you not? Are you a unionist? Are you not? What had you... Okay, because he says he's leaving. So this is where he draws the line. He'll come and tell us that. So keep it here for that and more conversations. So Sawa. Yes. And now... on that note, let's take this break so that you can tell us how the weather's going to look like today. It's 6:15. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, and the show is live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. And if you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from. We will do like that after Ndu does like that with the weather.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Getting jiggy with it. Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Degrees and cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 22 and lows of 14, and we'll see lows of 14 and a cloudy in Nakuru, going to highs of 24. At 14, it's cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 23 and a partly cloudy Eldoret at 12. It's partly cloudy at 24 in Mombasa, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 and lows of 25 in a cloudy Malindi, currently at 26. It's 19 and cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 26 and a cloudy Kakamega at 16. It's 19 and a rainy morning in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 18, and we'll see highs of 30 in a cloudy Dar es Salaam at 24. It's 12 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 15 and lows of 3, and we'll see highs of 31 and lows of 26 in Lagos, currently clear at 27. It's partly cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 24. And 22 is what it is in Beijing Wednesday afternoon, highs of 26 and lows of 16. It's 13 and cloudy in Paris, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 21 in a cloudy London at 11. 14 and clear Tuesday night in New York. Coming into Wednesday, we'll see highs of 22 and lows of 12.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Friday, it's 18 minutes after 6. Has the system done like that?
Well, it's trying to do like that. In the meantime, let's say hi to folks who are online this morning. Sige Ronnie Kim says good morning and tuned in. Jose Dede, good morning, Ndu, Eric, and CT. I'm tuned in from Homer Bay, just waiting to hear the proverb from CT. And please, let CT explain a bit. Okay. I guess he'll just do what he normally does every day, right? So is that Day or Didi? Did I ever tell you guys that was my pet name? No, forget.
Didi.
My dad used to call me Didi.
Didi.
Okay.
Didi, not Didi.
Okay, Didi.
Didi.
Anyway, shh.
Didi.
Davil Masharia is tuned in from Nakuru and says good morning. Malindi is locked. Kevin Ochieng and Alpha Bright in Uganda says good morning. Locked in as well. Fidelis Mayavi is tuned in from Nairobi, looking forward to the big conversation. Karibu sana. Gerald Kimeo, we see you. Good morning. Wacha waseme mwisho.
Watalala.
Mwisho we watachoka. Okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis wa Murkwidjit is tuning from Kapinguria. Kapinguria, you said is where again? Over the hill and far away. Where is that?
Kapinguria is in West Pokot.
Thank you very much. That's what I said. Asinela Ndeutenge is tuning from Windhoek in Namibia. Good morning to you. Collins Kipsat is tuning this morning as well. Buddha Wairia is also here with us. Waivera is tuned in. Jambo, Kenya's biggest conversation. Ednah Musalimiwa Kwahewa, thank you very much. Jared Matureti is tuned in from Nyachichi Secondary School in Kitutu Masaba. Kapsabet, Nandi County is where Hosea Kimutai is this morning. You people who are on YouTube, I know you're there. I can feel you. We'll say hello in a minute when we get the thing to do the thing.
In a minute.
I'm about to. Okay.
Hiya, City. Hiya. Today's proverb is from?
Well, the country is still the same. We are still in Madagascar.
Okay.
Whose capital is Antananarivo. Yes, I'm going to repeat it. I've said it once. It is good. Yes. And who's the official language is Malagasy and French. Okay. Right. When the king reigns, it is thanks to the people. When the river sings, it is thanks to the stones.
When the king reigns, it's thanks to the people. When the river sings, it's thanks to the stones. Okay.
You know, there's this gushing sound that rivers make. If you've ever been in a river, okay, it's a splashing, gushing, thrashing sound. That I think is what is being referred to here as singing. It has to be gushing and thrashing at something for that sound to be made, isn't it? Yes. So it's a stone. So when the king reigns, the king can't reign himself. He needs subjects. He needs people to reign over. Yes. And also, for him to reign, they have to agree that he will reign over them. Yes, if they don't agree, then he will have a problem.
You know what water does to the stones as it's flowing?
Makes them smoother. That is if it doesn't move them.
It's basically eroding them.
That is what it does.
It chips away at...
very small. And that's why I said it smoothens them.
One could argue that a king does the same thing to the people.
It does. You could. Especially.
Just destroys them slowly without knowing.
Yes, especially.
Yeah. Let's look at the headlines.
Okay, the headline on the Standard this morning is an interesting one. It says it's back to the streets, and then the sub says that Azimio leaders say they will not resume bipartisan talks because the government is pushing the finance bill that will worsen the cost of living, meaning demonstrations are the likely next step. So let's see what happens. There's a number of things that they've said. Resolutions. Number 1, reject the finance bill in total. Number 2, Martin Mwenje picked as the Deputy Minority Whip of the National Assembly, replacing Sabina Shege. This is all from the meeting that they had yesterday, right? Finance bill as presently crafted must be withdrawn and replaced by a bill that appreciates Kenyan suffering. And Kenya Kwanza must agree that all Jubilee MPs who have defected have to resign and face by-election. And suspend bipartisan talks until the conditions are met. All right?
Okay.
So those are some things they've come up with. We'll look at details of that later. KPLC blow as court halts 21 billion shilling tender. Remember they said they were looking for some work to be done. Now the court says, hold on a minute. How about we take a look at this first before you go into it?
Okay.
Now, this other headline is a bit interesting as well. 7 tribes scoop new TSC posts. Sounds like... okay, sounds interesting. Look at that. On the front page of The Nation, big standoff over tax law. A fresh standoff looms today between Raila Odinga's Azimio La Umoja and President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza after a midnight ultimatum for the government to withdraw the finance bill, which they say is laden with punitive proposals, and that lapsed last night. Haji says he got no apologies. All of you are telling him and baying for his blood. He said, well, sorry, I'm not sorry. This is something like sorry, not sorry, essentially is what he's saying. A new survey has revealed that the burden senior citizens continue to carry in their sunset years at a time when they would be expected to rest after decades of toil, as the country's dire unemployment rates leaves energetic youth and their children, in some cases, relying on their parents' meager pensions to survive. Oh, look at that. Thuge says he's going to seek dollar bond to ease pressure on the shilling. This is during his vetting that continued yesterday. So, remember this whole story of Maziwa Nyayo? There's a reintroduction of school milk programs by more than a dozen county governments. They've been reviving the memories of the 1980s and 90s. I guess that was a thing here, where you all went home with a packet of milk, or at least had it at lunchtime. And so counties are seeing how they can bring that back to life. All right, on the back page of The Nation, quickly, health workers withdraw services as contracts expire. They said enough is enough. Healthcare workers employed by the government under the UHC program Cohort 1 and deployed to counties have stopped working after their contracts expired. So do us a solid and we come back to work. Until then, sorry. Headlines looking at those two.
Alrighty. So let me tell you what's on the Business Daily headline. South Sudan asks Ruto to end Joho's port monopoly. The South Sudan government has asked President Ruto to end the monopoly of a firm associated with the family of former Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho for handling cargo destined for the neighboring country from the Mombasa port through the rail line. In a U-turn, South Sudan President Salva Kiir wants Ruto to allow goods to and from his country to be cleared at the port of Mombasa and not at the Nairobi freight terminal. Juba wants more firms, including Compact, Console Base, MCT and Mitchell Courts, to be allowed to handle its goods in Kenya as it seeks to cut the monopoly. Autoport Freight Terminal Limited, that's associated with the Joho family, has been handling nearly all South Sudan imports at the NFT. The purpose of this letter, that's quoting a letter from President Salva Kiir to President Ruto. The purpose of this letter is to kindly draw Your Excellency's attention to our discussions on why we in South Sudan have opted to use the port of Mombasa rather than the Nairobi freight terminal for all cargo from and to South Sudan. So that's the story. Another headline here is an interesting one. Moses Kuria's peak for KEB's chair caught up in 278 million shillings unexplained wealth case. The High Court has frozen more than 19 properties estimated to be worth 278 million shillings belonging to the new KEB's boss, KEB's chairman, Jeremiah Kamau Kenyua. The wealth is suspected to have been acquired through bribes while he worked at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Kenya was appointed by Trade CS Moses Kuria as the chairperson of the National Standards Council, the policy-setting organ for KEBS, which is at the center of a sugar scandal, in January. His troubles worsened last week when the High Court allowed the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to bar him from disposing of the properties pending an application for forfeiture of the assets to the state. Justice Esther Maina allowed the application by EACC freezing the properties. Some of those properties include 3 parcels of land in Ruiru valued at about just 95 million bob like this. Some 5 parcels of land in Nairobi and Kajiado worth about 68.8 million shillings. A parcel of land in Laikipia worth 18 million shillings. Some Toyota Prado and some cash, some 500,000 shillings and some 300,000 shillings found in the yuan currency. Ticker headlines, the interesting one today. One is Thuge plans local dollar bond to ease pressure on shilling. This is an interesting one. So the Central Bank of Kenya nominee Kamau Thuge went to Parliament yesterday for vetting, and he told MPs that he'd like to float a dollar-denominated bond in Kenya to get Kenyans who are holding over 1 trillion shilling in dollar deposits in Kenya to at least release that cash. Imagine $1 trillion shillings in deposits in dollars sitting in current accounts. Kenyans are holding that much. Okay? Now he's saying now to move that dollar into the market, how about we entice them to say, we are floating a dollar bond.
Come and buy.
Come and buy in dollars. Okay? Now the question is, will the government, when it's paying back, pay back in dollars? Because it will have spent that money in shillings. What does that mean to the exchange risk here for the government again? The other headline here is Sun King gets 18 billion shillings to fund solar buyers. This is a global off-grid energy company that is set for an 18 billion shilling financing that will see it sell products such as solar lanterns to customers in Kenya. City.
Yes.
The Star.
Top right-hand corner in green till. Protect intersex. Bill wants school to have gender-neutral uniforms in toilets. The story is on page 6. Do I see the look you have given me?
Yes.
And perhaps I should just read a little bit so that you understand what it is that I am referring to.
Okay.
A new bill proposed by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights will seek learning institutions introduce uniforms, washing and accommodating facilities that are gender-neutral. I have no idea what they're talking about here, but I'm sure I'll find out as I continue reading. The Intersex Persons Bill of 2023 seeks to provide for the recognition, protection, and safeguarding of intersex persons' rights in Kenya. This is against a backdrop of what is happening in Uganda. This is interesting. If adopted learning...
Uganda is LGBTQ.
Yes.
Kenya is intersex.
Yes.
Not
yes.
same.
Oh no, believe me. In the minds of most people, the moment you begin a topic that deviates from what is understood as male and female, okay, you need to be very, very clear that you are not wading in the waters of LGBTQI.
I in LGBTQ is intersex.
Yes. Precisely. That's why I've said I.
Yeah.
Yes. So, it is something that needs to be understood with great clarity as to what is being spoken of. Because otherwise, it will be bundled together and the misunderstanding will be profound.
It will be taken like that. So now we are saying now they have rights.
Yes, now we are saying we are introducing a bill. This thing will fly even though we know it doesn't have wings. Okay? If adopted, learning institutions will be obligated to admit intersex persons to any course or study and introduce gender-neutral practices in a bid to foster inclusion.
And an intersex person is whom?
Intersex. The Cabinet Secretary responsible for education will ensure that intersex learners get the provision of private and sanitary towels, washing facilities, accommodation facilities, and uniforms that are neutral, or if designated by sex, by allowing the intersex learners to use the facility and uniforms that accord the learner's self-recognized sex, the bill reads. Now you understand why I'm saying that this is something that needs to be understood.
Very, very, very much so.
I'm telling you.
We need to bring in the commissioners.
Yes.
The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights needs to come here and actually
explain this.
Explain this bill slowly,
gently, step by step.
It is necessary.
Yep. That's a big headline.
It is actually no. It is right. Green till Yani is bang. You can't miss it.
Okay.
Raila wants tax bill out. Makes fresh demands. Sabina Chege kicked out. Mark Mwenje kicked in. I'm the one who said that. Named Deputy Minority Whip for Azimio. Okay, then Haji refuses to reveal net worth. Okay, Thuge worth 450 million shillings. That's how the story goes. That's how the story goes. That's the headline in the Star. Yes.
That's a good one. 27 minutes to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. On Saturday, we are doing something. What are we doing?
We're running to help children who can't afford it get the necessary heart treatment. and surgeries that they need. The annual Mata Heart Run takes place on June 3rd, which is Saturday, and congenital heart issues for those who can't afford it is what is being worked for here. 120 million shillings is the target this year. You can buy a t-shirt at 1,000 shillings, buy a cap at 500 or a wristband at 300. All your Naivas supermarkets have this merchandise, so you can go get yourself some, and then let's see how we can support and, give a little bit to this pool that would ensure that little children have a larger lease on life.
Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Right, still building up in parts of the city this morning. Doesn't look too crazy. Jogo Road is looking like it's going to be the contender for, first place prize this morning, followed closely by the thicker superhighway. Limuru Road, not just yet, but Kiambu Road is just going to come from the back and finish all of you this morning, because we're going to have many lanes. We're going to have it coming towards Muthaiga Square, and it's just going to be crazy. We can already see it. So people on Kiambu Road are sleeping. Then when it gets to a certain time, they all wake up, and I don't even know how many lanes we'll have then, but there will be traffic on Kiambu Road this morning, guaranteed. Gong Road, some coming in a little bit here and there as you get into the city, but the contenders are there. We know who the winner will be. Let's just prepare the trophy now, and then talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Newborns were killed or left to die in Shakahala. The youngest victim of the Shakahala deaths may have died from a stillbirth or abortion. Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Odur yesterday said the brain of the 2-month-old infant had not developed. Last month, an autopsy on the body of a middle-aged woman revealed that she died hours after delivery. A woman who escaped with her children from Shakahala in March yesterday confirmed that newborns were left to die. Salama Masha said she gave birth to her last-born daughter alone inside the forest. We were not allowed to get help. Masha said pregnant followers of Paul Mackenzie's Good News International were ordered to abandon the babies to die when fasting started. We would take a cane and beat the children so that they could go to heaven. We were told they would go and eat in heaven. So, you as a parent, you would have cooked and eaten, but the child would be locked inside. So I thought about it, and I said to myself that I couldn't continue with the situation. Yesterday, Dr. Oduor and his team conducted postmortem on 36 bodies, 17 males and 18 females. The gender of one child could not be identified due to the level of decomposition. He said, at the Malindi Sub-County Hospital, we found an infant, about 2-month-old girl. The brain had not developed. Another one, toddler, a head injury. The 1-year-old boy had blunt force trauma on the legs, while another kid had features of strangulation. The chief pathologist is yet to estimate the period when the first victim died. Survivors claim that the fasting started in January and that the children were the first to fast until they met Jesus Christ. Odur said the post-mortem on the body of the man who was rescued from the forest but died while receiving treatment showed he was suffering from tuberculosis but had not received treatment. The body of woman was discovered on Monday, taking the confirmed death toll to 242. One male was rescued, bringing the total rescues to 93.
Hey, this story is still just...
It troubles my soul. It's getting worse and worse.
It's actually worse than bizarre.
Yeah. What I mean, you can imagine a woman who's just given birth, taking a cane and beating a child to death. I can't. I don't. In the name of religion, in the name of going wherever it is that you will go, I can't. I cannot.
If we needed a clarion call to understand that there's something fundamentally wrong with us, spiritually and mentally. It is this. It's not Mackenzie. It's not Shakahala. It is us. Because this thing isn't happening in some other country. Under the watchful eye of all these wonderful institutions that we speak about, all these brightly spangled, well-dressed clergy people that we see, all these wonderful swanky churches that we see around us, all in God's name and in Jesus' name, all these things in this very same country, people leave your church to go and join another one. It doesn't occur to you that it's a problem. You don't follow. And yet, the very faith you subscribe to refers to these people as your brother, and you as your brother's keeper, brother being the generic term for brother or sister. So really, if there is a faith that we subscribe to, and that fundamental is completely lost, then of what use is this faith? How then does one claim that it has value? Because this has happened under our watch. It didn't happen, and then it was brought down to earth, and it then taken to Kilifi for us to observe. It's been happening over a period of time.
Yep. It's a big one, and that's why I think it's important to have that commission of inquiry.
It is extremely important.
It is necessary.
And we need to interrogate the terms that commission is going to have. What it is that they're going to be asked to do and how they're going to go about it. It's not just a commission has been set and they on your marks go. No. Whatever they're supposed to do, every Kenyan must know, and every Kenyan must have an opportunity to contribute to it.
Their terms of reference must be very clear and should be geared towards addressing this and seeing what action can be taken thereafter. If it's legislative action, be very clear legislative action. If it's what we're talking about, registration and regulation of religious organizations, let it be very, very clear even how that can be done. But it's important that we have that national conversation. The matter is in court. It should be determined very fast. If it's the president has no power to start a commission of inquiry, then who does?
Okay, who has the power? Then can that person do it? Come on.
Can they do it? There's an interesting story here of a former director at the Communications Authority who has clashing dates of birth in his passport and the national ID.
Yeah, that happens
a lot.
I thought the two dates of birth in the same passport.
No. That happens a great deal.
That's fantastic if you can do that.
If you go
the date of birth and his ID,
different. You'll find even his records at his place of employment, you'll find even different.
Yes.
Not only date of birth, even place of birth will be different.
Yes. This is what the issue is. Because he has gone to court accusing his employer of sending him home before reaching the mandatory retirement age of 60 years. Juma Kiprono Kandie, who was until last week the Director of Human Capital and Administration at the Communications Authority, has termed his removal as illegal and a witch hunt. He was the Director of Human Capital. He's the HR. Okay?
He's the people who's
HR has told him he has retired.
So his own capital is being pursued.
He has told himself, you are going home. He now said self, not possible.
No way. Kandie, who had worked for CA for 23 years, maintains in the petition that all his official documents indicate he was born on December 12th, 1964, and is set to retire 64 plus 60. 64 plus 60?
124.
Bas, 24 is next year?
Yeah.
Next year, December 12th. Employment and Labour Relations Court Judge Jacob Gakeri certified the case as urgent and ordered the CA to respond to the petition within 2 days. It will be heard today. Kandie is further protesting the decision by the National Registration Bureau on May 19th, invalidating an identity card that he acquired on April 3rd this year and which corrected the variance on his date of birth. This was after he was asked to provide his birth certificate to allow the National Registration Bureau to decide the matter. In the meantime, the identity card number, blah, 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 issued to you on April 2023 stands invalidated until you present the above documents. Please be informed that the correct and valid date of the birth, according to records by the department, is that you were born on the 12th of December 1962. He says he was born in 1964. Okay? But what... The letter by NRB official Lucy Karanja says an earlier identity card, which he acquired in 1980-1981. See that? Mm-hmm. He had an ID that he acquired in 1980-1981.
Okay.
That one indicated he was born on December 12, 1962, and that his name is Chuma Kiprono Kandie. The second ID issued this year says he was born on December 12, 1964, and calls him Juma Kiprono Kandie.
It sounds like a human error to me.
A human error by 2 years.
Yes.
Allah?
There was an ID.
Like two.
He acquired his ID in 1980.
When he was 26.
1980.
He was 26.
He was 28.
He was born in 64.
No.
When was he? Okay, wait.
The ID of 1980, when he was given, it was saying he was born in 1962.
Okay, so he was 28. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think he made a mistake the first
time.
time.
At that time, he was Chuma Kandia Kiprono.
Then later became Juma.
Then now, this year, at this point of retirement, he got another ID.
earlier.
Something happened. So this year, he went and got another ID.
This year, 2023?
This year, 2023, this one.
Haba.
This one, okay?
Okay.
And this new ID calls him Juma Kandia Kiprono and says
he was born
in 1964.
Mm. I think after all these years, he has now understood when he was born.
It is now he's understand. No, it has been revealed to him the true date of his birth.
He has reached the point in his life where he has clarity. So it is 1964.
And you know how I said human error? You're assuming it's the error of the person who was doing the ID. The human error.
And by the way, it is not you who writes your name. You tell the person and they write.
Then they
He said Chuma, then they went and wrote Juma. Okay?
It's like when I say Oko, somebody hears Okoth.
Yes,
I
exactly.
say Oko, but they've heard,
and they continue with
Okoth.
That's okay. Do they hear? You when you apply for an ID, you don't go there. You write on Nani?
They will say Juma. Juma.
No. They ask for your birth certificate. At the application of ID,
actually,
it is your birth certificate that they use.
Actually, it depends on when you are registered.
This man was getting an ID in 1980.
And then 2023.
Again, I am just saying, in 1980, they did not require to have birth certificate. Not really.
What were they requiring?
You were born. Your evidence of birth.
No, I'm being sincere. I am being sincere. There used to be this blue thing you got when you got to the age of 18. That was the original ID. It was a blue... blue identification card. Okay?
Right.
Then when they brought these ones, which now are laminated, you stood there and they asked you the questions and you answered and they wrote them down. And then you stood somewhere, they took a picture of your face. Okay? Then you're told to wait for a certain period of time.
And then you get your ID.
You get it. It was not complicated.
It was not many.
No, this ID thing and so forth, no.
It's
your
true.
birth certificate, no.
Even in many cases, they still, when you're getting an ID in school, they don't ask for all those documents. They just make sure, okay, you're in school, all right, you're around about this age, so blah, 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 when was you. So this is what he says. He explained that the variance was caused by an erroneous entry in his year of birth as 1962 instead of 1964, saying it was because of a part of bus registration program that was rolled out by the government in 1980 and 1981. So there was a mass registration of people, kipande. So he was given a kitambulisho. And they wrote the date as 12th December 1962 instead of 1964. But he says that was corrected to reflect 1964 in my first passport, which I obtained on the 10th of March 1986. He adds that all his official documents, including his school leaving certificates, indicate that he was born in 1964, the year he also indicated in his employment records. He says he was surprised when the CA Director General Ezra Chiloba sent him on compulsory leave on April 22nd, a period which was extended before he was served with another letter of interdiction. Interestingly, I was now being sent on interdiction for two reasons. One, that I had allegedly attained the retirement age, and two, that I had allegedly failed to establish a panel of values for the staff mortgage policy. He further claims that he has been under immense pressure from Chiloba to resign voluntarily, but he declined despite being warned of losing his benefits. Kandia says all his retirement benefits have been taken away because without being given a chance to issue a retirement notification to CA's pension scheme administrator, which should be made 9 months before the retirement date. Yeah.
Eric,
there's an issue.
This thing of IDs, when they first came up, there's one of my many grandmothers. You know, my father's cousins and so forth. Their grandmothers are also my grandmothers. I have one grandmother who, after the ID had been produced and we saw it, we realized that she was actually 2 years older than her elder son. So now, that one, how would Chiloba have handled that one?
So what did you guys do?
She just left it when she was not going to look for employment. There was no pension she was waiting for. There was no compulsory retirement. She didn't have these problems.
I can't breathe.
When she passed away, she just passed away. The issue of when she was born was a non-issue. We saw her alive. We knew she was alive, and we knew that she was the mother of this uncle.
City said, we realized that she was.
Yes, we look at the ID, realize, this one, this person is 2 years older than her eldest son. This one is a bit tricky. Going to school has problems. If I hadn't gone to school, we wouldn't have realized these things. We would just have been happy.
Okay.
Tell us a story, Siti.
All right. Now, Kenyans to pay 3,000 for yellow fever vaccine. Okay, those seeking to get duplicate copy will part with 1,000 shillings. Yellow fever, there's this yellow card you get.
Yeah.
Okay. So when they vaccinate you, that vaccination is supposed to last 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
I think so, yeah. It will cost Kenyans 3,000 shillings to get a yellow fever vaccine and certificate at City Hall from July 2023, which is the month next July.
Right.
This is according to the proposed Nairobi City Council finance. Even them, they have a finance bill.
Of course.
Okay. This is according to the proposed Nairobi City County Finance Bill 2023.
Excuse me. Okay.
However, those seeking to get a duplicate copy, meaning you had one lost, duplicate copy of the yellow fever certificate, will have to pay 1,000 shillings.
Okay.
Yellow fever vaccine is mandatory for all people seeking to travel to countries that are considered to be vulnerable to the disease, which is essentially the rest of the world. The same dose goes for around 5,000 and 43 yes, at the airport is 5,043 shillings. The same thing. But if you want the 3,000 version, City Hall.
Go to City Hall.
Yes.
The question is, it's interesting because I think you're going to look for a shilling wherever you can find it. What has precipitated this increase in price? Or just, is it that the purchase of the vaccines has become more expensive because it's the same vaccine? It's the same one that if you have your card, it hasn't changed in its makeup. What fuels this decision?
Revenue.
Yeah, we're looking for money, Abby. We get it from wherever we can. All right, okay. I guess that.
But it's not the only one, by the way. They propose other charges as well. If you, the draft bill includes typhoid vaccine at 2,000, influenza at 1,800.
It's a service.
Yes.
Service.
Yes. They all these increases. And there's a list of vaccines for all manner of chicken, pox.
Did I get something? Did they say that it now no longer expires after 10 years or something like that?
I haven't heard
the yellow fever.
Yeah, once you've gotten the injection, you don't have to keep.
I don't know. I have not heard of it though. Yes. They even have cholera vaccine. Now those ones you'll be charged 1,500 at City Hall. Okay, tetanus. If you want a tetanus shot, that's 1,000 shillings. Hey man, there's a list, man. Hey, there's so many diseases. Wow.
The disease burden is high.
The thing is, visit City Hall and find out the range of vaccines that they have for you.
But don't just go get them because they're there.
Usually they'll talk to you and explain to you what they're intended for and how you get them and so forth. Because when you find such a station, it is manned by a health expert, somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. And usually they've been doing it for a long time, so they're familiar with it.
Yes. All right. Speaking of vaccines and health workers are withdrawing their services as their contracts expire.
Their contracts are expiring?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've been employed by the government under the UHC. Remember that? Cohort 1 is where we had started, and they had been deployed to counties. But they said, you know what? Our contracts have expired. So, obviously, we stop work. The national government in 2020 employed more than 8,550 people under the UHC program on 3-year contracts. According to them, the workers now, who include doctors, nurses, clinicians, midwives, and record keepers, county officials have told them to seek clarity from the Ministry of Health on the renewal of their contracts. Health workers employed in the second batch, that's cohort 2, also said that their contracts will expire in September this year, at which point they will stop working unless they're offered better terms. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha told The Nation that the government will renew the contracts of all UHC program health workers as per its agreement with the Council of Governors during the meeting in Nairobi. She said, we are aware of the matter, so, just relax. Council of Governors chairperson and Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waigoro's office declined to comment on the matter when contacted. Okay, I wonder why. The KMPDU National Chairperson, Abi Mwachi, said it was disappointing that the government remained non-committal after President Ruto assured the union during a State House meeting in February that he was keen on employing more health workers to help them deliver on his promise of UHC. So they're saying, we don't know if we're going to come back to work. It was vital for the rollout of UHC that you had these particular health workers in these sectors, right? Doctors, nurses, clinicians, etc., for the delivery of UHC. Now, if their contracts are not renewed, the question is there a vacuum that will be left? And if there is, who's going to fill that? Will they fill the gap and hire them back?
I think if I remember, the meeting, the summit between the president and governors in Naivasha had discussed this issue, and I think one of the reports that came out was that the national government had committed to continue paying these workers.
Say that again?
Even after.
Say that again?
I will not repeat. Where were you when I was saying it?
Sorry.
Your information.
The national government had said something like that. They were committing to continue to retain these people, to continue paying them. Maybe there's no communication to that effect to them on what happens after this.
Which is what they're asking.
Yeah, and that's what should happen now. They should be told, so are we being paid? Are we being retained? Are we being retained on contract? Are we being absorbed permanently? Because absorbing them permanently means that they are now taken up by the county governments, which county governments say don't have money. So here's where the National Health Services Commission comes in. Anyway, John the Baptist is going to the DCI.
To prepare the way.
Yes, he's been preparing the way, and now DCI have said, Ebu, come and tell us where the way is. Ronald Wanyama, the self-proclaimed Nabii Yohana Watano from Nandolia village in Kandui, is required to shed light on his Muungano Church of All Nations. I am not harassing anybody. I'm only enforcing the government's mandate to ensure the churches operating in this region follow the right channels. This is according to the county commander, Francis Corley. The 82-year-old Nabii claims he has 46 wives and 289 children.
That's the spirit.
With his youngest wife being 24 years old. The police boss says, I have politely asked Nabii to present himself before the DCI on Friday in Bungoma so that we can have a chat with him. I also requested him to carry his tools of work.
What are those?
See, he'll come with them, we'll see. The police are interested in a Bible that the man claims to have written. During the county commander's impromptu visit at the Wanyama home on Monday, the man was not present, but his 10th wife, Catherine Nalonja, assured the police that he would present himself. Wanyama claims to have powers to heal an array of ailments, including HIV and AIDS, cancer and witchcraft, and to help politicians win elections. His neighbors claim he can heal even mad people. He says he wrote his Bible containing 93 books, which he uses to preach at his church, where his flag is surrounded by 12 stones. I was born in Egypt, and after 5 years, I went to Israel, where I lived for 230 years. I later went back to my Creator. I prepared the way for Jesus. I was 203 years old by the time Jesus came. I consecrated him to begin his work before I went to heaven. I am the way, the truth, and the last prophet sent to God to save mankind from corruption, homosexuality, and bad governance. When Jesus Christ was crucified, he gave me the power to raise the dead.
The Jesus.
So
real.
I thought you said he was 82. No, I thought you said he was 82 years old.
No, you worldly people call him, say he's 82.
But him, he knows he's 2082.
He was born so many years ago.
230 years ago.
He was born in Egypt.
Oh, so he was born in Egypt at 5. He now went from Egypt to Israel.
He went to Israel, where he lived for 230 years.
So by
he
that
went back to God.
35 years old.
He went to God.
We don't know how long he was with God. I'm trying to add the
and he prepared the way. When he came again to prepare the way
for Jesus.
Jesus came. Jesus died. Jesus left him with the powers to heal people.
So now he's healing people from
been alive
madness
since
and
then.
homosexuality.
Yes.
It is important.
Time for 7 for the news at 7 a.m.
News at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is News. I am Dennis Aseto. It's back to the streets. This after Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition said it will not take part in the bipartisan talks until the contention's finance bill is withdrawn. Minority Leader in the National Assembly, Opio Andai, explained that the decision was arrived at after receiving a brief from the representatives who stated that their Kenya Kwanza counterparts were not willing to concede on key demands. The team, however, said Kenya Kwanza must desist from interfering with Azimio-affiliated parties and those that have defected to head back to Kenyans and seek fresh mandate.
It is our resolution that other than merely committing not to interfere in the affairs of other parties, Kenya Kwanza must agree that all Jubilee MPs, and indeed any other MPs who have defected to Kenya Kwanza, have to face by-elections in line with the Constitution of Kenya. Until all these are agreed upon, the joint bipartisan talk remain suspended.
Nominated MP Sabina Shege also suffered a major setback after the coalition replaced her with the her deputy minority whip position with Embakasi West MP Mark Mwenje.
In furtherance of those resolutions by Jubilee NDC, Azimio has settled on the Honorable Mark Mwenje, the MP for Embakasi West, as the Deputy Minority Whip of the National Assembly. Honorable Mwenje will be taking up the position that was left vacant upon the removal of the Honorable Sabina Chege about a month ago. We recognize Honorable Mwenje as a committed, consistent, and youthful fighter who has shown the will to stand up for the people and the party. We have no doubt that he will prove equal to the task.
And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will today meet with the Kiambu County leadership and MCAs in what is seen as attempts to save Governor Kipani Matangi from impeachment. The meeting, which will be held at his home in Karen, that is the DP's official residency, will be attended by MP Senators, MPs Governor Matangi as well as his Deputy Rosemary Kirika. The meeting is being held just a few days after Kiambu Senator Karungo Thangwa asked Gachagua to intervene in the ongoing dispute between Governor Matangi and the MCAs.
Nilikuwa naambia Rigiji hapa aite ma-MCA wa Kiambu wakae chini waongee, sababu hao waheshimiwa wameanza kuongea, wameanza kuona, na ni vizuri kuongea.
After today's meeting, Gachagua is expected to also meet the MCAs to hear them out and understand why they want Matangi out and look for possible solutions. Wamatangi has been accused by leaders in the county of making decisions without consulting them, failing to form his government despite coming into power for close to a year now, including failing to present the names of senior officers of various departments and instead working with officers from the previous regime. Ruth Waithira is the representative of Githika Ward.
We have even sat down with the governor times and again, pleaded with him. You know, we are always being fought at Mashinani. We give you votes, you don't do any. We've sat down with him and he's doing nothing. You know, PR. Every day we go there. The other day you saw us up in arms. We went there, he told us, I'll make sure bursary is there by last week of January. I'll make sure everything is available. And he comes to Mashinani and tells people, this ward will look like Singapore in the next 2 months, in the next 6 months. But nothing is being done. You know, you cannot be a PR governor.
Well, the government will release 28 billion shillings to primary schools, junior and senior secondary schools in the country by Friday this week. Speaking in Siaya County Education, CS Ezekiel Machogu said that each pupil in primary school will receive 1,450 shillings and those in junior and senior secondary schools will receive 15,040 shillings and 22,240 shillings respectively.
We are also giving each and every school in this country a capitation money because National Treasury has released the 28 billion, which is meant for junior secondary schools and senior secondary schools, monies which will be in your school accounts in the course of this week. And that is why, you know, we are saying no one is going to solve the kind of problems we have as a country apart from we ourselves solving it for ourselves. That is why there are all these programs. We know some housing program. We are saying the finance bill.
And the UN Security Council voted to extend an arms embargo and sanctions imposed on individuals in troubled South Sudan, urging all parties to avoid a relapse into widespread conflict. South Sudan became an independent nation after it broke free from Sudan in 2011. But the world's youngest country has launched from crisis to crisis, enduring political turmoil, natural disasters, and hunger. Between 2013 and 2018, 400,000 people died and millions were displaced as the country was marred in civil war. This is Newswire. Dennis Asada, good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
It's still slightly dark out at a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and that means folks have their fog lights up, using them this morning. Also looking at heavy fog in some parts of the city as you're getting out towards Westlands, moving in the Kangemi direction, and also coming into the city from that area. So let's watch out for that, shall we? And just like I told you, Kiambu Road is not going to be left behind this morning because there's that traffic and it has started to be, I don't know how many lanes we are right now, but again, Kiambu Road will not carry last, as we say. All right, on the Thika Superhighway, traffic is also pretty busy. We're looking at it coming in heavy also on Waiaki Way. It's coming in from James Gishuru and other parts. So we're also looking at traffic coming in from Gong Road into the city. And let's look at Jogo Road, where it started early as well. Leave now so that we don't start saying these and other sad stories later. We're looking at traffic coming in from North Airport Road. It's spilling over towards Outer Ring and then towards the Eastern Bypass. So it's going to be a busy Wednesday morning. Let us know what's going on where you are. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room the only way to start
Good
your
morning
day.
and welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room. 8 minutes after 7. It's Wednesday. It's the final day of May 2023. Yep, we say goodbye to the month. We welcome half two. Just like that of 2023. And when June comes, we've been talking about June is coming. June is coming. KTN Home. June is coming. Well, June comes and KTN Home revamps and launches new programming. What we've been talking about since KTN Home for many years, welcome home. We now want to say welcome home with the new programming lineup. Some interesting programs to keep you entertained and informed and made aware, and also to engage in engaging programming. Just make sure that you follow our social media handles, Spice FM KE, yes, but also at KTN Home on all social media platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. It's at KTN Home. Welcome home. This Saturday as well will be the 3rd of June, and we will be running.
Yes, the Matter Heart Run, the annual one, takes place on the 3rd of June. And remember that what you think the annual Matter Heart Run, what is that all about? Well, many children in this country born with congenital heart disease, born with heart problems, and the majority of these children are born into low-income or no-income homes, families. And so the Matter Hospital many years ago decided to step in and pool resources from people in society, from corporates, and say, how about we raise some money through a walk or a run on a Saturday, and then raise money, and it has been successful. More children are born every year with these problems, and this year again, the Heart Run takes place. So you can buy a t-shirt at 1,000 shillings, a cap at 500, or a wristband at 300 shillings. Any of your Naivas supermarkets, register there, come out and run on Saturday, and help to save a child's heart.
Indeed. Today is World No Tobacco Day, the 31st of May. It's World No Tobacco Day. This yearly celebration informs the public on the dangers of using tobacco, the business practice of tobacco companies, that the WHO is doing to fight the tobacco epidemic, and what people around the world can do to claim their right to health and healthy living and to protect future generations. So the WHO actually is at the forefront on this, on pushing for World No Tobacco Day. And to have this conversation with us, we're joined by two ladies in the studio. One is Jane Ombaso. She's a Deputy Director for Agriculture at the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. And Rachel Kitonyo Devotsu has been here before and again before, and she joins us today. Again, she's the Regional Manager for Africa at Maccabi Center for Law and Cancer. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. So do we say Happy World No Tobacco Day, or do we say No Tobacco? How?
We say Happy World No Tobacco Day, though we still have a lot of work to do to get there.
There's a lot of work.
Yes.
Why must we say no tobacco, though?
So tobacco use has both health, socioeconomic and environmental impacts. And the theme of this year's World No Tobacco Day is Let's Grow Food, Not Tobacco. So starting off with why grow food and not tobacco. In Kenya, we have approximately 14,000 hectares of land under tobacco. And these are mainly found in Western Kenya. So we've got Migori, we've got Bungoma, we've got some parts of Central Province. So we have some tobacco growing in Murang'a, in Meru, and a bit in Ukambani around Kitui. And some of these areas are food insecure. So instead of wasting this land on tobacco that nobody can eat, they would actually need to spend this land on food. And one of the impacts of tobacco growing is food insecurity. So especially where a farmer is a smallholder, which most Kenyan farmers are, they're peasant farmers, you need to be growing a crop where you can sell for money, but also have space for food like maize, beans, and other food items. And so tobacco by its nature, because it's a toxic plant, it's poisonous, it poisons the soil, you can't plant anything alongside it. And then it needs a lot of pesticides and things like that. And so what is happening is that food insecurity is increasing in these areas. And so just to give some statistics, if you're in a place like Angurai in Teso, 66% of the households are food insecure, don't have enough food just to feed the family. In places like Meru, which I guess are more higher agricultural areas, the food insecurity at the household level is 10%, and in other places it's 15%. And so that's why the theme is Let's Grow Food, Not Tobacco.
Not tobacco. Okay, a good way to start the conversation. Let's welcome you to the show with the day's proverb. City?
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the country of Madagascar. Okay. When the king reigns, it is thanks to the people. When the river sings, it is thanks to the stones.
When the king reigns, it's thanks to the people. When the river sings, it's thanks to the stones.
Yes.
Madam Jem Wambogo, that proverb is from Madagascar.
Yes.
When you hear it, what comes to mind? How do you interpret it?
The issue of especially the river and the stone. It is a question of we have the inhabitants of an ecosystem and in an environment, and until we take care of our environment, then we shall always be insecure, especially in terms of food security. That's how I get it from my professional line. Yes.
You interpret it from that way. City, how do you rate her?
Well, you know, when you give an opinion and you explain the opinion, you are 100% right.
City is a politician.
Because the whole point of a proverb is it shouldn't have a uniformity in its meaning. It should speak to you. So it has spoken to you. And that is how she has spoken. She has explained how it has spoken to her. Yes.
How she got it.
How she got it. And that is what counts.
That's true.
Yes.
That's the whole purpose of the proverb, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Okay. So, Jen, this whole push for getting away from growing tobacco, I see it's a controversial one. Of course, it's big, it's global, it's being pushed by the World Health Organization. And just like Rachel has explained, there's a whole issue of food insecurity when there is tobacco being grown. But then someone would argue tobacco is a cash crop. It's not a food crop. It's just like many other cash crops. If you were growing pyrethrum, would you eat it? It's a cash crop. So how would you justify this and say, because you're growing tobacco and now you're not able to grow food, let's stop growing tobacco and stop earning that income and start growing food?
Thank you for that question. Actually, is a very relevant one in the current economic situation when you talk about economy and growing food for income generation. But now we are looking seriously, what income are we talking about, and what is the impact of generating that income to the people who are generating it? The tobacco production as a cash crop, one, we are looking at what does it entail in terms of production, and what is the impact of it on the soils, and the impact of it on how it is produced, the issue of pesticide, the issue of the impact it has on our soils, and also the impact it has also on the people who do it. The production of the whole process of production of tobacco, it is a cell is involving the women, the children, and it has that generally even for the mothers even to be taking care of the children. You find that they are not there also because it is very intensive, and it has an impact on its production, the soil fertility, and what it does to the soil. So what it means is, in terms of the outcome of the income is expected to yield, and the income and the work that is involved, it is not worth it. There are other livelihood options that can do the same without getting to that level of the impact it has. It has a lot of negative impact, both socially and also economically. That's the reason why we cannot compare it with the pyrethrum. The impact maybe the pyrethrum has in terms of production, in terms of the people, the segment of the people it touches on. So we are looking at tobacco with the impact it is having. Soil fertility, the women, the children, the people who produce, and at the end of it, they are at the lowest margin. It's not sustainable. They are at the lowest margin of the gains they get is not equivalent to what is involved in. We have alternatives to that.
So essentially we're saying that a lot of land is going towards the farming of tobacco.
Yes.
A lot of people are involved in this as an economic agricultural activity.
Yes.
But what they're getting from it in terms of profits is not able to sustain them, is not able to feed them.
Yes.
Really. The question is, how did they get into tobacco farming in the first place? What fueled the decision for them to do this?
Agriculture production has been measuring on the income pathway, that you get some income out of it. And initially, when we started all this production of income generating or industrial crop kind of, it was to get the income for the families. But in the process, the impact it has had is not equivalent to the income. So there's need to look for alternatives. The initial bit of it was there was income, but now the impact is very negative. So we would rather look in terms of diseases, in terms of soil. So we would rather look for an alternative. We started it because there was an income, but now there are better alternative for income from the crop production. Okay. It is not only tobacco.
Maybe if I could jump in there. So starting at the amounts that the farmers get, research that was done in 2020 indicates that, so there's two types of tobacco farmers. There's independent farmers and there's contract farmers. And the two main tobacco growing companies in Kenya, so BAT and Mastermind, contract their farmers. And once you're contracted, you can't sell to anybody else. So it creates this highly unequal relationship where you've got no bargaining power ever over the price of what they'll buy the crop from you at. So they fix the price, they fix the grids. And so what happens is that the tobacco industry gives the input to the farmer. So he gets seedlings, he gets fertilizer, he gets herbicides, all on credit. And then at the end, the industry comes and collects the crop and pays him. So they then, of course, pay themselves first. And so when farmers think that they're making money out of tobacco, you have to minus the loans. And then the other factor that they don't bring in is their labor. And so she's mentioned it's a labor-intensive crop. And so it requires the farmer, his wife, his children. So also in tobacco growing areas, you find a lot of child labor. Now, child labor in Kenya, of course, is common across many crops. What is wrong with it in tobacco is that the crop itself is poisonous. So there's a sickness called green tobacco sickness that comes when you handle wet tobacco leaf. And so when you use children to water tobacco plants, to transplant seedlings, to harvest, and then to bale and to carry to the factory, they're absorbing this nicotine through the skin. So whereas even if you are working in your father's dairy farm taking care of cattle in and of themselves are not poisonous. So you wouldn't get sick from interacting with your family business. But if you're a child employed in a tobacco farm, you actually get sick from the work itself. So that's a problem with child labor in tobacco. So back to the profits. So you'd find that an independent farmer in Bungoma is probably the most successful, and they would make about 40,000 Kenya shillings per planting season. But that's before they take away family labor and all the other costs. The minute they do, the income would drop to about 20,000. If you're a contract farmer in Bungoma and you take away all your costs, we actually find that they run a loss of 37,000 Kenya shillings. So back to Jane's point. If this was introduced as a cash crop and you're running a net loss of 37,000 Kenya shillings, is this really a cash crop? And then now, will you then have enough money to actually buy the food that you're not growing? And so from that perspective, it is really not a cash crop for the farmer. The farmers are suffering. Now, to the question of why they got into it in the first place, the same study done in 2020 indicated that most of it was because it was seen as having a viable market. And so when you're looking at production chains in this country, a farmer wants something where I know as soon as my produce is ready, it's going to be bought. And so the tobacco industry provides that, again, because of the contract. Only problem is, because then you have to sell to them, whatever price they tell you, you really cannot bargain. Then the second thing is, I guess, habit. And so if your father, your grandfather was a tobacco farmer, then you're used to it. Now, in terms of then addressing that, which is what the Ministry of Agriculture is doing, and I'm hoping Jen will be able to share, if you can produce another crop that, one, has got higher profits, and then two, also has a ready market, then we can swap out tobacco with all its ills for something that's much better. And there's actually a project in Kenya that's doing that.
How long have we known of these ills?
Of farming or just of tobacco?
Tobacco. Tobacco specifically. For how long? I mean, we've been growing tobacco, for decades in this country?
Yes, tobacco farming, I think, was introduced in early 1900s and I guess reached its peak in the 70s and 80s.
But in Kenya?
In Kenya, yes, that's in Kenya. So currently we have between 30 to 50,000 tobacco farmers. We are no longer keeping track because it's no longer a scheduled crop. So Ministry of Agriculture is no longer promoting it. So therefore we are not collecting data as we should. But what has also happened is that globally the production has been decreasing, not just in Kenya. So in Kenya, between 2010 and now, there's been a 16% decrease in acreage from, I said, that 19,000 hectares to hovering now about 14,000. And it's not just in Kenya, it's globally. Now, part of this has been because, of course, of awareness of the dangers. And so in terms of environmental impacts, people started tracking them from the 1950s. And so when you're looking at something like deforestation, so because you have to cure tobacco using wood, the farmers cut the trees around them. And so if you go to places like Kuria and Migori again, you can track, and there have been people tracking forest cover and the reductions in forest cover. And so that started in the 50s, not just in Kenya, but across into Tanzania, which also grows tobacco. Health effects started being tracked in the 40s and the 50s, and other environmental impacts, 60s, 70s, as we've seen the impacts of particularly cutting down trees.
You know, whenever one wants to put across a message of harm, they sometimes neglect that perhaps a message of health might be better received. Now, the ills that tobacco creates, it's not as though you smoke today and you die tomorrow. If there's a disease attached to it, it will take time before it gets to you. How then do you explain this very simple concept of opportunity cost to somebody who got into tobacco farming at the subsistence level because they saw others who had gotten into it make some money? Now, it may not look like a lot of money, but when someone starts off by not having money, any money that they receive will seem to them like it is a great deal of money because it is money they didn't have. So, even as one talks about the need to change this crop, the need to perhaps go into some other business, farm something else, would you say that the efforts that have been made over time by governments who actually understand and who have led campaigns in telling us that smoking kills and tells us all the harm that it causes, has adequate effort been made to substitute this harmful cash crop with something that A, offers the farmer sustainable sustenance, but at the same time offers the farmer food?
I don't know if Jenny wants to speak about your ministry's efforts.
Yeah, that is very, very clear that when you withdraw this, you have to substitute it with something of economic importance to the farmer as well as to mitigate on the impact, the environmental impact. One of the projects the ministry have started together with other partners, that is the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture, and WHO and all the other UN bodies, is to give an alternative to this farmer who has been producing tobacco. And one of the alternatives is bringing in a crop that has short-term, nutritious, and this is iron-rich beans. A study conducted in 2011 on micronutrient deficiencies of the population of Kenya showed that we are lacking iron in a very high percentage, and especially among the women and children. Lack of iron. So in our crop breeding system, there is iron beans. The beans we know have been enriched and biofortified with iron and also zinc. And that is a crop that is already open for market. And this is the alternative we are offering to the farmers who are producing tobacco. One, it will enrich the soils, as we know the legumes enrich the soil. 2, it is a short-term crop. 3, it is nutritious. And 4, there is a market. There is connecting the farmers who are producing the iron-rich beans to the market. This is something we have started in 2021. And we already have 2,000 farmers already who have taken up, especially in Migori. We are exploring this for Meru and also for Busia to scale up the production of iron-rich beans in those farms that are producing tobacco. And we are connecting them to the market because we know tobacco was produced because, as she has just brought it out, the issue of market, linking it to the market. So this one, once we link it to the market, then the farmers can produce, and knowing that the crop they are producing will go to the market pretty fast.
You said you began this particular process around 2011.
2021.
2021.
But the studies had been conducted on micronutrient. Much earlier.
2021.
Yeah.
So it's been ongoing for a short time.
It is a short time we have been going on, but it's the success rate on already the farmers who have converted from tobacco grow within that short period. You have over 2,000 farmers who have converted from tobacco production to producing beans. They are rich beans.
What size of land?
The hectarage?
Yes.
For this one, we have considered the number of farmers first of all, because it's a question of attitude. If you get a farmer, even a farmer in terms of hectarage, I've just said we have now taken the data. But in terms of the number of farmers who are growing tobacco, who have stopped and now producing beans, that is the number.
Maybe we need to understand how many. This is all over the country, or just in a specific part of the country?
It's in specific the tobacco growing counties.
So in total, it's 2,000.
We have started with the Mugori.
Yes.
Yeah, those who have converted.
2,000.
Yes.
I'm going somewhere with this. I want to ask,
Yes.
how many tobacco farmers are there?
What's 55,000?
Yeah.
So between 30 and 55,000. In Migori itself, probably maybe 20,000. So to have migrated 2,000 out of 20, so this is a pilot project, just started in 2021, and because they have had to put in place all those things that the industry used to give. So starting from the seeds, and so getting Kenya Seed Company to produce enough seedlings and of that variety, and then being able to set up the chain where the farmers can collect the seedlings, can get the appropriate fertilizer, then the extension officers to train them how to grow the beans, and then collecting the crop and then selling. So what she hasn't mentioned is that the crop is sold to the World Food Program, so that's a guaranteed market. So this is a partnership between, as she said, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, WHO, Food and Agriculture Organization, World Food Program, and then to also replicate credit, because that's the other thing that troubles farmers, and that's what they used to get from the industry, that the things were sold to them on credit. So they've also provided a credit system. So putting all of these things together, the tobacco industry has had 40 years to do it. Government of Kenya has done it in 2. I think they've done an amazing job.
They have. If you look at the numbers, you're talking about 20,000, and right now the pilot scheme has managed to convert 2,000.
Yeah.
That's 10%.
Yeah.
Now, so it means if we're to go by that, in 10 years, we should have converted everybody.
They have plans because they are extending now to Bungoma and going to Meru. So soon they'll have mapped all the tobacco growing areas in the country. And because also, which was the point you made about what you need to do to convert a farmer, I'm getting farmers as advocates. And so there are farmers who, after having converted, are now talking to others. So really engaging at the community level. Then also engaging the county governments.
Yes.
The county government of Migori is also part of it. And so that's what has been the success of this project. People are now coming into Kenya from elsewhere to learn from us. And so now Kenya is showing best practice in this area.
We'll talk about sustainability of this project after we take this break. It's 7:30. Today is World No Tobacco Day, and we are talking about efforts being made and being spearheaded by the World Health Organization to get farmers off farming tobacco. And what is Kenya doing about that? That is what we are discussing. Rachel Kitonyo Devotu is a regional manager for Africa at Maccabi Center for Law and Cancer, and Jane Wambogo is the deputy director for agriculture at the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Keep it here for more conversations coming up. We're live on Spice FM, on KTN Home and online. Ladies, you all love tea, don't you?
Yeah.
Bas, Ndu. Talk about the tea.
CT's pouring it from his flask at the moment. It's Assis tea. Actually, it's grown in Kiptagich, on the estates of Kiptagich, and that's in Kurosoi South district. So imagine a tea that is grown here, manufactured, packaged here. It's available for the world market, but then also available here in Kenya. So nothing like leaving the dregs here. No. what you get on the global market is what you get here as well, in different variants: lemon, masala, tangawizi, purple tea, green tea, hibiscus tea, all of that right here in Kenya for the world as well.
Do you have any free samples for us?
Oh yes, you'll go home with some tea.
Great.
As long as you're here. Tunakupatia chai.
Asante.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Aki, I feel like yum.
Have exactly what you're craving when you crave it at Shell Select. Crave it. Have it.
It's that time again when we get to gather around and marvel at the great engineering, raw power, finesse, and share in our round motor love for motoring at the annual Digger Motor Show 2023. From car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance, as well as asset financiers and more, this year's Digger Motor Show will be one for the books. We're talking a whole 4-day event from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd at KICC Grounds, Nairobi, where we will have something for everyone, so you better not miss out. Get the family, bring your friends, and share in the joys that will give you lasting memories and an experience you're bound to not forget. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email sinyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
It's mostly cloudy in Nairobi this morning at 15, highs of 22. We'll see highs of 25 in what could be sunny Nakuru at 15, sunny conditions at 15 in Nyeri, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 24 in a sunny Eldoret at 13. It's 24 and mostly cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Malindi at 25. 20 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 26 in Kakamega, where it's sunny at 16. Cloudy conditions at 19 in Kampala, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. It's 11 degrees and mostly cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 15 and lows of 3. Today at 26, Lagos is clear, highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 31 in the clear Kinshasa at 23.
When the engine revs, will you be ready to get all that petrol head enthusiasm at this year's annual Digger Motor Show? Well, you better belt up and make your way to KICC from the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 for a wholesome 4-day event. Come and join car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance, as well as asset financiers and more for what will be an unforgettable experience by far. We are going all out to make it a great show for you and the whole family with something for everyone, so you better not miss out. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email sinyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Spice FM, Malindi.
Rilo Zingawe coming off Langata Road is bumper to bumper, and it's going to take you all the way to the city mortuary roundabout. Oncoming traffic from Gong Road also will compound that, and we're looking at traffic on Aerodrome, then getting into the city centre. Also, traffic coming out of Westlands into the city. You're looking at it coming off heavy from Kiambu Road and the Thika Superhighway as well. Outer Ring is a mess. There's traffic coming in from Komarok, Manyanja, and Kangunda Roads. It's all coming off of North Airport Road at the other end of Outer Ring. So we are in traffic hour proper right about now, and it looks like it will be a busy Wednesday. If the heavens hold up, then we can say we'll get out of it earlier. But if the rain comes down, it's going to slow down some more. Tell us what's going on where you are this morning. Let's talk on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Today, being World No Tobacco Day, we are having this conversation with two guests in the studio. One is from the government. She is the Deputy Director for Agriculture at the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Jane Wabu, and Rachel Kitonyo Devotsu, who is from Makabe Center for Law and Cancer. And we're talking about the need and the push to get farmers to stop cultivating tobacco and the alternatives that you're providing. But I'm also looking at what is happening globally and the number of countries that are still growing tobacco. Many. The tobacco industry is still thriving, and of course it's thriving because the tobacco crop is being planted. Zimbabwe is one of the largest, actually is the largest grower of tobacco in Africa. 112,000 hectares under cultivation for tobacco. Malawi 100,000 hectares, Mozambique 91,000. If you now come to Kenya at 15,000, we are actually not doing even a percentage of what Zimbabwe is doing. Look at Brazil, 357,000 hectares of land in Brazil under tobacco cultivation. 95,730 hectares in the USA. Argentina, 53,000, and many other countries that are still having tobacco crop production. Why is the world not seeing the need to just wake up one day and outlaw tobacco? And if it has all these harms that you talk about, it's harmful to the soils, it's harmful to the people. It leads to these practices of children actually ending up to work in tobacco farms and what happens to them. If all these things are happening and it's harmful, that the WHO has found to be harmful, why not just encourage the world to ban tobacco production?
So to start with, you're dealing with an addictive substance, and so tobacco has got nicotine that's highly addictive. And so currently, though for the first time prevalence has started dropping, which shows that the measures in the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control are finally taking effect. So in the last WHO global report in 2021, for the first time, we've seen a decline in prevalence. So these measures work. Only as CT mentioned, one, tobacco addiction and disease takes time, and then two, to start bringing down the prevalence also takes time. And so the Framework Convention came into force in 2004. There are some countries that had already started these measures before, but in essence, if you were to measure its impact, you'd be looking at from 2004 up to now. So prevalence is starting to drop. But the other problem is that populations are also growing, and so even though prevalence as a percentage could drop, absolute numbers by population growth could go up. And so in Kenya, for example, prevalence has dropped from 23% in men to 19%, but in absolute numbers, it's only been a decline of 50,000 people. And so because of population growth, and Kenya's population is still growing rapidly, that's part of it. Now, in terms of why we can't ban, it's because we've got all these people who are addicted to a substance. And nicotine addiction is quite hard to kick. And so even as we are slowly bringing down prevalence, trying to ramp up cessation services so that we reduce the number of smokers, it's going to take time. Now, you asked why we've not dealt with farming up to now. And so the Framework Convention has got very many articles. Most of them deal with reducing demand from smokers, and then a few deal with reducing supply of the crop. And one of them is Article 17 of the FCTC that talks about helping farmers to migrate. So I think most of the effort has been on trying to get the smokers to stop smoking. And it's only in the last, 10 years that a lot of research has started going into how do we start helping the farmers. Because eventually when the number of smokers drops enough, then there'll be no market for this tobacco group. And interestingly, despite those statistics you started off with, Eric, global production has also been declining for several reasons. One of them is innovation by the industry. And so as they have gotten better at producing their product, they use less tobacco leaf in each cigarette. And so they themselves have appreciated that the day is coming when they'll need less and less. and therefore have changed their products. Others are just global factors. And so globally also acreage is shrinking. So guaranteed there's still a large number of farmers out there, but the writing is on the wall. And so for those other countries, unlike Kenya, that haven't smelled the coffee, maybe smell the tea, now that we're talking about tea, they'll wake up one day and realize they suddenly have got all these farmers and no crop for them. So the government of Kenya has actually been very forward thinking to see that this day is coming and start asking ourselves, what can we do before that day actually arrives? And that's why I'm saying Kenya is one of the places that has done this best practice, and people are actually coming to Kenya to learn how we've done it. So of course, with a smaller number of farmers, it may be easier, but at least we can show the way how to do it.
I'm a bit, concerned. So I have to ask, why would it be so difficult to just stop it? Is there a commercial value that then would outweigh the demerits of just cold turkey? Well, now that we're talking tobacco, cold turkey stopping the thing and saying, let's just uproot the bushes. Because we've already established that you don't really gain anything from it. If you're going to smoke the stuff, it's burning up your lungs. If you're going to plant it, you're not getting enough to feed your family. Even if what you're going to export on a global scale is not bringing in anything that rocks the economy in one way or the other. So is it still a difficult decision to make, to say, look, let's just stop growing this thing?
Yes, Kenya is a democratic country, and there is very... the democracy dictates that you have people participation in the decision you are making. So there's, even if the farms are for the farmers and the government has that authority, you don't go that way. One, as Rachel has just mentioned, the issue of it takes time. Even those who are already still in it takes time for them to rule out. Two, you have to train what is the alternative and what is the economic benefit of this alternative before you convince the farmer. And it takes time to convince this farmer who has been used to a credit system that if I produce this tobacco, this amount, I'll get a credit system of this amount. I can utilize it within the tobacco farm, or can I utilize it elsewhere? So that it takes time. And then you also have to bring the system in place that you have a credit system that works for this farmer. You also have a system to market the alternative product the way they were marketing the tobacco. Even if the outcome and the impact, the economic impact in terms of what the farmer was getting is low, against what we are advocating as a government, you really don't push it that fast to the farmer that stop this. There's this alternative. The farmer has also to make decisions. And in Kenya, that is the democracy we really enjoy.
Jane,
yes.
You know, the government of the Republic of Kenya democratically decided one time that come June of a certain year, there will be no more plastic use in the country. Okay? And it was a democratic government.
Yes.
And we banned plastic. Why? Because of understanding the harmful effects of plastic in the environment. All right? Those who are in the industry had to come up with alternatives, and they had to engage on what alternatives to deploy. If today the government said that we are going to phase out tobacco control or tobacco farming by the year 2027, then everybody works towards knowing that by end of 2027 there will be no more production of tobacco in the country. Why can't the government go that route? If the government has said by 2024 we shall end FGM, by 2022 we were to end GBV, right?
2026.
So 2026, GBV. Next year is FGM. Let's put another one, 2027. And tobacco production. Why not?
In fact, Jane, think about it.
Thank you, Alec, for that question.
I want to add a little salt to this particular wound.
Yeah.
You see, if the government decided not to license tobacco processors, stopped licensing cigarette manufacturers because they can, and they say we are giving you X number of years to bring this business to a halt. Even if you wanted to grow tobacco, where are you going to send it? What I'm trying to say is, we understand it's not a simple matter because there are benefits to the government. Tobacco companies pay government taxes, very serious taxes. The They don't pay serious taxes.
Let me give you some statistics again.
Yes.
So the 30,000 to 50,000 farmers, if we're going to talk about it from employment,
Yes.
has 0.3% of the total labor force in the country and 0.5% of the agricultural labor force. So it's a very small amount.
No, it's not them I'm talking
I want
about.
to convert that into
Yes.
money now. In terms of contribution of farming to the GDP, it's less than 1%. Even when you add taxes, it's still less than 1% of Kenya's GDP.
Taxes that the tobacco companies
In terms
pay.
of the excise tax, which
No,
is
no.
now on the manufactured cigarette.
Yes, it's
Yes.
still 1%.
It's still 1% of Kenya's GDP.
Yes.
So it's still a small amount. But the fact that it's small doesn't mean that it is not an amount. So because it is an amount, there's a sense in which government has some reluctance to lose that revenue. And what we are now trying to show them is that when you do a cost-benefit analysis, for every shilling we get from the tobacco industry, we spend 3 on dealing with the impacts that they cause. The minute that message sinks home at the Ministry of Finance, there will be pressure to raise more taxes from these people to pay for the trouble that they cause. So we've just finished a study in 4 major national referral hospitals in Kenya, looking at cancer, at heart disease, at diabetes, at respiratory infections, and we have found that 35% of those patients are smokers or ex-smokers, and that 16% of the deaths in Kenya come from tobacco use. And you can translate that into economics, because before these people die, they've suffered absenteeism, they've suffered horrendous medical costs, and so the patient, his family, the society, the health system is paying. And so for the taxes that they give, and that's why I'm saying for every 1 shilling that we get, we spend 3 to deal with them. So eventually, the message will sink home and will boot these people out. But it takes time.
Actually, it won't, because whether it's big pharma, big tobacco, they have lobby groups.
Yeah.
And they are powerful.
Yes.
So we can talk about, because what you're saying makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
It makes so much sense that one wonders why it has not been implemented quickly. Because essentially, cost-benefit analysis, it is clear. This thing is really, the value proposition here is a zero-sum game. You can see it. And yet, we persist.
In fact, if I can just tell you one thing that's happening right now that has made me really upset. So we're talking about the finance bill, and everybody is big on all this 3% housing levy. There's a provision inside there that's horrible. There's a proposal to delete Section 10 of the Excise Duty Act
Yes.
that provides for the inflation adjustment on excise. And some of the products that currently suffer that inflation adjustment, I wouldn't say suffer, for us it's good, is tobacco, alcohol, sugar-sweetened beverages. And the reason why you have to peg the taxes to inflation is that the nominal value of the shilling, which is the value that you see, I've got 100 shillings, in real value it's infected by inflation. So 100 shillings now is not what 100 shillings was 10 years ago.
What 10? 2 months ago?
Even 2 months ago.
Yes.
And so what the government has to do, on one hand, to safeguard its revenue in terms of the taxes that KRA is collecting, is to peg the tax rates to inflation, so that then the cost of each shilling that they collect is actually pegged on the real value based on inflation. And so when they remove that provision that right now mandates KRA, at least every 1 or 2 years, to add the taxes based on inflation, their real revenue is going to shrink in terms of the tax that they collect from tobacco, alcohol, and unhealthy foods. So the Exchequer is going to see an immediate effect, and if they pass it in this finance bill, give us 2 months, we'll go to KRA and get you the figures. Already revenue will have started shrinking. So I personally cannot understand what in hell the Minister of Finance is doing by doing this, because he's directly shrinking revenue at a time the government needs it. Now that's from a finance perspective. From a health perspective, it will make these products cheaper, at which point consumption will go up and health will go up. So whichever way you look at it, whether you're an economist who doesn't care about health, or like me that cares about both, it's a shitty move. And I hope the Minister of Finance and members of Parliament, you're listening to me. The only problem is not housing levy, 3%. That move to repeal Section 10 is as bad as the move to impose a housing levy. And we need to remove that from the finance bill.
Rachel, I wasn't aware you speak French.
I do.
It slipped there. Jen, now answer the question. Why can't you, in the Ministry of Agriculture, set a date and say, by this time, this is what we're going to do. We are going to phase out tobacco production and completely eliminate tobacco production and outlaw tobacco production by a certain time.
Thank you, Eric. When in your earlier question, you compared production, food production or cash crop production to plastic. I wish you got another better comparison, because it would be a bit relevant. When you consider the plastic production, as you mentioned, the way the government took the production of plastics, and you consider it's the segment we are considering. In terms of lard, and what we grow on our lard. I don't know whether you had another example on when we outrode something on production of something apart from he had mentioned about marijuana and these narcotics, that there is an outlaw. We have never started producing as a country and recommending it as a government to produce a certain crop, and then you close it all of a sudden. You really have to bring out the farmers' perspective, those who are growing, and bring them on board slowly. You don't just cut off a livelihood all over and just all say that. Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yes.
The 2,000 farmers. I mean, because all in line with this conversation. Yes. The 2,000 farmers who have been converted, as it were, to now start growing, remove essentially their tobacco crop and start growing the beans. What was it that they believed that they were doing? What was it that was told to them for them to say, actually, you know what? This makes sense. Remove the tobacco, plant the beans. What did they understand about the whole situation?
One, they understood the issue of the income.
Okay.
The farmer understood the language of income. Okay. Apart from the food, them at household level to be food secure, they understand income.
Sure.
You are giving an income alternative to another income.
Okay.
And the alternative was the bean had already market through the World Food Program to feed schools and to feed even for the food insecure communities. So there was already a market that you just say, within 3 months you have produced your beans, not labor intensive, good for the soil and for the food. And this, you see the period, the short time period and the credit factor. They were also getting the seed, just the way they were getting from the tobacco. So the transition itself, it was smooth and of shorter period.
Okay.
So that is what confused the 2,000.
All right.
To us transition.
So if it convinced the 2,000,
yes,
and we talk about we're just removing, we can't just uproot people from their livelihoods.
Yes.
If 2,000 could have been convinced, then many more can be convinced, and that's what I'm saying. That the same process can replicate itself with these others. Can it not?
Thank you. Yeah.
With timelines.
Yes, with the timelines. Yes, you see, we are talking about a seed. We are giving an alternative, and it's a seed that has to be the island dish food seed. It's the bean variety. It's a new one also. It's a variety we are upgrading also. That is going to have a nutrition impact to the community and also to the families and to the children, especially the adolescent and the school-going children. But it will take time also to get this the seed producing quantities that we can give to these majority farmers.
Okay.
So it is hand in hand.
Okay, so it's not that they cannot be convinced to not grow tobacco anymore. It's that the availability of the alternative is a challenge.
And it is a system. You have also to train them how to produce.
Okay.
They were growing for this period. They have been growing tobacco.
Yep.
Now you are telling them all of a sudden shift to bean seed. So you have to go with the extension method, the seed availability, the credit, organizing farmers for production, aggregating the seed, so that you don't go marketing small quantities and buying them.
You know, allow me to magic think a little bit. Is it really impossible to convince these tobacco cigarette manufacturing companies to go into the business of growing beans so that
That's an interesting question.
No. They are a business. They are there to make money. And it's the same farmers they're dealing with. If that was their business, that's what they've been doing. Are we saying it is impossible for them to be convinced to look into the possibility of doing another business which will probably make them more money than this one was making and with less flack than the tobacco industry produces?
So the short answer to that is because they still have addicts. And in Kenya, those are 1.8 million people who are addicted right now in terms of our prevalence statistics. They have introduced another form of addicting even more people, which is the nicotine pouches and e-cigarettes, and their business model is still extremely profitable. We've not yet done enough to make it so unprofitable in Kenya that they would want to move. If you go abroad, so say you look at Philip Morris and its parent company Altria in the US, they're actually diversifying their products. So getting into things other than tobacco, because at least there the business model has taken a hit. But in Kenya, it's still extremely profitable. So as an industry, they have not yet felt the impetus to shift to something else. The day we raise our taxes to 90% of the retail price, because currently it's about 35%, so that they feel it. And that's why I was talking earlier on about removing that inflation adjustment and what it means. They're not yet feeling the hit. So the day we make them feel the heat, they'll actually want to grow beans.
So they can grow beans.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yes.
And not just beans. Actually, what the county government of Migori is doing is thinking about many other alternatives, because you also have to look at the soil, as she said, and so not oil soils necessarily will grow beans.
Sure.
So they are looking at things like sweet potatoes. They are looking at dairy farming. So for them to move their 20,000 farmers, and they're really committed. They've really mapped out what are the things all of these farmers need to move to. And I actually join their challenge, Jane.
Yes.
Can we set a time for this and say that by 2030 there'll be no more tobacco farmers in Kenya?
Yeah, I think they say we have assessed them outlook and be able now to see when they transition, what is the livelihood impact on the farmer who was growing, and what they are moving into, what is the advantage of the livelihood.
You have to think holistically like that.
Yeah.
That's what government does. So, thank you very much. Jane Wambogo is the Deputy Director for Agriculture at the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. And Rachel Ketonyo Devotsu is the Regional Manager for Africa at Maccabi Center for Law and Cancer. We've been talking about getting Kenyan farmers to stop production of tobacco and what efforts the government of Kenya is making towards that in association with WHO and others. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies. Asanteni sana. Have a lovely day.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Kutoka Better Healthcare International.
The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. 36 bodies of Shakahala victims were autopsied, among them 10 children. Government pathologist Johansen Odor says 16 victims died of starvation, one from a head injury and another strangulation.
We took samples as usual for further analysis, which include DNA, because we are unable to state whether identity of this person, and DNA will help us. So far, we've not seen any person who has a missing organ. All the persons we've done autopsy on have their organs intact. When someone decomposes so much, you find that the organs are also decomposed, and that doesn't mean that it is missing. It just means that the organs are decomposed.
And despite the objections against his appointment to lead the National Intelligence Service, DPP Nuruddin Haji appeared before the National Assembly's Defense and Intelligence Committee. Appearing before the committee, Haji declined to reveal his net worth, saying it's a national security issue.
Honorable Chair, I was going to request, considering the sensitivity of the office that I'm going to hold, that I give this to the committee. It might be a national security issue at some point.
Haji also absolved himself from the blame over the withdrawal of court cases against high-profile individuals. He said that he withdrew over 25,000 other cases and not necessarily against high-profile individuals.
Those cases were necessitated to be withdrawn. We had issues with how the evidence was passed on to the ODPP. Initially, the evidence that was tabled to us showed that we had sufficient evidence in most of those cases to prosecute. In some of the cases, the investigating officers themselves submitted affidavits to say that they produced evidence that was not complete, that some of the evidence were actually tampered with, and some were even forged.
Now, Central Bank of Kenya Governor nominee Kamau Thugia said the proposed 3% house levy is a catalyst for development, appearing before the MPs for vetting. Thugia said the affordable housing program should have been implemented earlier for the same development and creation of jobs.
It's not a tax, it's a savings. It's a savings that you can clearly see the jobs that are going to be created. Yeah? There's no other program that we have where you can say, if I do this, this is the number of jobs that will be created. This one tells you the number of jobs that are going to be created. And as you know, even from a social point of view, creation of jobs reduces crime, reduces it. There are all kinds of positive externalities to having more employment.
If approved, Thugia will be the 10th CBK boss taking over from Patrick Njoroge, who is retiring. Now, former Kenya Airports Authority Managing Director Lucy Wanjiku Mbugua has been appointed as the Regional Director for the Eastern and Southern African Office in the International Civil Aviation Authority. In a statement, Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen said the appointment was made by the Secretary General of the International Civil Aviation Organization in concurrence with Kenya. Mbugua, an experienced aviation professional, has over 25 years of experience in civil aviation. Now, police are detaining a man on suspicion that he may have killed his wife following a fight at their home in Kibonjo's location, Baringo Central. The suspect, identified as Silas Barjipa, is alleged to have killed his wife Florence Kibor at their home. The Deputy County Commissioner Baringo Central, Ruben Ratemo, confirmed the incident. Ratemo said the police are actively investigating the incident and that if found guilty, the man will be arraigned in court. Residents are asking the police to fight cheap illicit alcohol in the area. The man is currently being held at the Kabarnet police station. The body of the woman has been taken to Baringo County Referral Hospital morgue. Now, the UN Security Council voted to extend an arms embargo and sanctions imposed on individuals in troubled South Sudan, urging all parties to avoid a relapse into widespread conflict. South Sudan became an independent nation after it broke free from Sudan in 2011. The council, drafted by the United States, was approved with 10 votes in favor and 5 members abstained. The embargo on sales of arms has been extended to May 31st, 2024. The countries that abstained were China, Russia, Ghana, Gabon, and Mozambique, with the 3 African countries insisting that the sanctions were counterproductive and did not reflect the progress they said South Sudan had made. The ambassador from South Sudan, Akui Bona Malwal, protested the vote, saying that it was passed in bad faith. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, in the middle of traffic hour, and traffic coming off Langata Road is quite a thing this morning. It's heavy, then spilling over to Raila Odinga Way, and then joining with the oncoming traffic on Gong Road right around the City Mortuary roundabout, and then into the city. So mishmash of traffic as you look at it going into the CBD. It's coming off a thicker superhighway strong as it is off Komarok Road, then joining with Juja Road. We're looking at Kangunda Road, Manyanja Road, touching on Outer Ring, and then into the city. So that's heavy. Landage Road is phenomenal this morning. Started early and traffic is bumper to bumper. It's also bumper to bumper on North Airport Road, touching on Outer Ring, as well as getting onto the Eastern Bypass. So that circuit of traffic is quite something this morning. Let's keep an eye on things and see how it opens up. It's a busy Wednesday morning. Talk to us about what's going on where you are on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to
7:08.
start your
Good
day.
morning. We're still live on Spice FM and KTN Home and YouTube and Facebook. The conversations continue on this final day of May 2023. We're now waiting to usher in June, and in June, KTN Home relaunches new programs coming up on KTN Home. New look of KTN Home and new ways of consuming content on KTN Home. You can follow us on our social media handles, KTN Home, at KTN Home on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. And come tomorrow, you will see what KTN Home will look like going forward. You'll enjoy the best program. When we say welcome home, we mean welcome home. Also this Saturday, as we're coming into June things are happening. This Saturday we're also running.
Yes, we are running for good cause, and with the annual Matter Heart Run, making sure that children who have congenital heart disease or, one problem or the other, and also come from low or no income households, then have an opportunity or another shot at life. So the Matter Heart Run comes together every year to try and raise some money for hundreds of thousands of children. The number this year is 140,000 they hope can be targeted. The amount that we're looking for is 120 million. So a t-shirt that you buy for 1,000 shillings, or a cap that you buy for 500, or a wristband that you buy for 300 shillings at any of your Naivas supermarkets will contribute toward this number. It'll make sure that children in need of this heart treatment can get it. June 3rd, come out in numbers and run.
Yes, indeed. We have a new guest joining us in the studio. Seth Panyako is the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, and he is also the registered Vice Chairman of UDA Party. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room. Make yourself comfortable.
I'm really comfortable.
Very good. Yeah. To make you even more comfortable, CT will give you the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Madagascar. Today's proverb is as follows. When the king reigns, it is thanks to the people. When the river sings, it is thanks to the stones.
When the king reigns, it's thanks to the people. When the river sings, it's thanks to the stone. Seth, what do you make of this proverb?
I'm not a philosopher, but when you have a good king, of course, the people will be happy because the king will be ruling in a way that promotes the interest of the people. But if the king is not a good king, then he will be sinking those stones. It means that if you're not good, you will now be living with the autocratic leadership. People will not be happy, and you'll be sinking the country. That is how I look at it. Yeah.
Good. Seth, are you still in UDA?
Legally, I'm still in UDA, but socially and politically, I have left the party.
Socially and politically?
Yeah. But legally, I'm still.
Okay. Let's start with the social and political. What happened?
Yeah, on Friday, last Friday around 7:20 p.m. Actually, I was at the airport. I was boarding the plane to go home. I received a phone call from the president, and he told me he's under pressure from his people, those people who surround him. And I think there's a group of about 5 people from one ethnic community that believe that they should control everything around the president. And so he told me, you are opposing all the programs of the government, especially the housing levy and other things like VAT on fuel and many other things. And he told me it was not tenable for you to continue to be an official of the party when you are opposing the programs of the party. So I told him, in short, you were saying you want me to leave? He said, yes. Then I told him, oh, that one I grant you. On Monday, you'll get my resignation letter. But I've not resigned since then because of other things that emerged after that. Yes.
So the president called you and he was telling you that he's getting pressure from the other officials of the party.
He said, I'm getting a lot of pressure from people. Of course, I don't know whether the officials of the party or the cartels around him. I'm not quite sure.
This clearly shows that you and the president speak regularly.
We used to before elections. But after elections, I think that was the first phone call he called me to tell me that I should perhaps be leaving the party.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that must not be the first meeting that you've held with the president since he assumed office.
Yeah, that was the first phone call. We have not been communicating. In fact, communication was cut immediately he became the president.
Okay. Yeah. But as a party, you have met as a party, as leadership of the party. Have you not?
Since
after the election.
No, we meet only to come and rub stamp some things that have happened. You know, the party, we don't meet to... Like the other time we met was to come and accept Malala as the SG. And we come and we are told this is the SG, these are the changes, and you are in State House. And you are told go and announce, and we go and announce. Those are the kind of meetings we've been having. There has been no meetings where the National Executive Council of the party is given something to discuss and make a decision.
Okay.
Decisions are made. Your work is to go and approve them.
So was the president... Can we assume that the president was actually calling you to try and persuade you to see his side on why he needs, for example, the kind of proposals that he's put forth to run the government and deliver on the UDA manifesto?
No. He was calling to tell me to leave his party because I do not agree with his program for the government.
Okay.
The president, I don't think, has time for any divergent views on what he believes in. I don't think he listens to anybody. I think he listens to himself.
Okay. What are these issues that you do not agree with?
You know, political conmanship in this country must end. And that is what we were telling people. When we were campaigning, we wrote on the issue of lowering the cost of living. And we said one of the things we are going to do was to remove the 8% on VAT. You know, petroleum products are taxed in Kenya up to around 60%. So we told the people that we remove VAT from petroleum products to lower the petroleum product, and the net effect will be lower the cost of living, because petroleum products affect our production in all aspects. Now today we are telling people, no, we're not going to lower, we're going to double it. Now where Uhuru left it from 8% to 16%. We told people that we will do affordable housing programs and create employment. We never said that we are going to use workers' money to do those affordable housing. Because if we told workers that we're going to remove 3% from your salary to do housing project, then workers will not have voted for Kenya Kwanza. So we deceived them. We deceived the Kenyans. And that's why I'm saying politicians must stick to what they promise to their own people. Not when you are now in office and you start doing your own things. Me as Panyako, I will not be supporting.
Let me take you back a few steps, Seth, even before, because you were here before the election, when the campaigns were in full swing, full throttle. You said a number of things. You pushed for it. Is it possible that there was deception in the offing, as you said, and then in a few short months after an election, that somebody is then able to turn completely, and you had no idea that, as you say, it was just a ruse to get people to vote for a particular government, and then after they would turn the tables? Absolutely possible that you did not know about this?
In fact, is there anything you wanted me to add? That is the exact situation. That is what it is. This is political conmanship. I said it before. You tell somebody that you tell Kenyans, we reduce the cost of living by ensuring that VAT on fuel is removed. We will do affordable houses. You don't tell workers that we're going to get money from you. You are taxing almost everything. And when you look at those taxes regime, you see, like to import a helicopter, they are removing 15% on importing of helicopters. Who imports helicopters in this country? It is themselves. They have no interest for the common man. They have interest for themselves. And that's why any Kenyan who is bothered about the lives of the Kenyan must look at the finance bill clearly. And you will see that it's meant to protect those who have. Those who do not have are to be milked until they die.
Seth, is there something else that you're angry about?
Very many things. You know, clearly, as you said, what we promised people is now upside down. Now people have gotten into office, they don't consult. You see, if I am a member of the National Executive Council of UDA. I believe that the policy of the government, like the budget, the government should have brought those proposals to the party. Discuss with the National Executive Council, let us see what you want to do, then we agree with it. So that when I live there as a member of the National Executive Council, I'm able to defend what is being presented to Parliament or to the government for approval. But this is a situation where people sit, make decisions, and they expect you to support those decisions. Workers of this country are being overtaxed. Look at the National Health Insurance Fund. They want to move it from where it is to 2.75. Initially, we had the medical allowance that was removed from the pay slips of all civil servants in Kenya, where they started a program they were calling Comprehensive Medical Scheme for Civil Servants. That about 4,000 was removed from the pay slip of all civil servants. That money has disappeared. We don't have that comprehensive medical scheme today. We used to have mortgage. We have money for mortgage at the public Ministry of Public Service, Gender and Youth. Billions of shillings for mortgage and car loan. That money is lying there. Now they are telling you, instead of you worker going to get money from that program where you are charged 3% interest for operation cost alone, because that was money that was put there by the government for the purpose of civil servants getting to build their own houses. Now they are telling you, we'll get 3% from you to build houses for those who don't have. Now, we were told when we were campaigning that we are preaching class war. Now, class war is being legalized. You are now being told you have a pay slip. You have a right to build a house for that one who doesn't have a pay slip. Very soon, people in the village will start saying, these people with the pay slips are eating or sleeping hungry. They will come tomorrow to your house to ask you, we want to eat because you have a pay slip. This is the class war. I don't know whether the president is aware of what he's doing. He's bringing a bigger problem than what he can see. And if he has people around him who don't see these things we're seeing, then he has nobody around him to advise him.
When did you join UDA?
I think I joined UDA before it was formed, because we started to working with the president before UDA was formed. And it was actually there, but it's not with us. So when ultimately it was formed, I joined UDA.
So you were among the first people
exactly
to actually move with the then deputy president into this vehicle.
Yes.
And it was to be the vehicle to be used to campaign and seek power.
Exactly.
So you were very much involved in the inner workings of the campaign team.
You see, to sell UDA in Kakamega was not, and generally in West Province, was not easy. But through some of us, like where I come from, my constituency, I managed to move.
Where do you come from?
Malava constituency. I managed to paint Malava yellow. And you know, apart from the intrigues happened, let me talk about the votes that were recorded. What was recorded for the president was 28,000 votes. Raila Odinga 29,000 votes. For my own effort. There is no any other sub-county or constituency in Kakamega that went above 15,000 votes. That was my effort. And if those cartels around the president refused me to go around the county and the constituency and the region, if I had been given a chance to go around Kakamega County and the entire region, I have a great say, and people trust me. You know, trust is more important than even wealth.
But you're the vice chairman of the party. What do you mean by people who are refusing?
Because I did not have the means. You know, you cannot go campaign when you don't have, you must have fuel to move around. But when you're given, the money is given, go and do this campaign with Panyako, then some cartel sit somewhere and isolate you. You remain alone, and that's why I confined in Malava. And I delivered Malava. But these cartels who ran away with the campaign money never delivered Kakamega.
Who are these cartels?
They were there. Let us not go
Are they members of the party?
Some of them were not, because we're in a coalition now. We had Fort Kenya, we had ANC, and we had other small parties. But in Kakamega, we had ANC, Fort Kenya, and UDA.
Okay. So did you participate in putting together the thinking that went into the manifesto for Kenya Kwanza?
We did, because, but that manifesto is not the one being implemented.
Okay, let's start with the manifesto that was presented.
We did that.
Did you write the manifesto? Did you participate in?
We did, because I remember we had a meeting in Naivasha for the Western region leaders and businessmen and opinion leaders and farmers. and we came up with what we wanted for our region. If we could form government, and needed formed government. And we believe that what we told the president is going to be part and parcel of his manifesto or deliverable when he becomes the president. Right. We did that. Some of the things that we were talking about in agriculture, value added, now that value added has disappeared. Have you heard anybody talk about value added? People are just talking about taxes, center, left, right. Yeah.
But there was housing.
Housing was there.
It was a big one.
It's a good idea. But let me tell you, there's nothing new about affordable housing program. President Uhuru Kenyatta left a affordable housing program in place. When you go to Ngara, the house is being built. We have a lot of money already, which can be used for affordable housing program. I have said we have, like the board of Lab Fund where I sit, we have billions. The other day we were launching affordable housing programs at South Sea with the president. That was not that is workers' money, but not being overtaxed from the pension schemes, because pension schemes invest heavily in estates, and then they sell or they rent out to make income for the members. We have a new scheme called Public Servants Protection Scheme. It has operated for less than 6 months. It has 46 billion today, less than 6 months. We have now NSSF, which has been given 12%. That money can be used. Government can provide free land, and then the houses can be built, then they become affordable. Then the money, the little profit that's gotten from them, comes back to the fund for members who are retiring to get. We have Lab Fund, we have Lab Trust, and we have CPF. All these are pension schemes where money for workers are being contributed. Then we have public-private partnership, which President Uhuru Kenyatta was doing very well. So when you look at all this money that's available, and you see somebody still wants to get money from workers when he has not told us what is available in our pension scheme is not enough, then you see it's malicious. We're not even being told where the housing levy, the money is going to go. Hatuambiwi kama ni sako, hatuambiwi kama ni merry-go-round, hatuambiwi kama ni pension scheme, hatuambiwi kama ni nini. This money, even if it's deducted today, on which account is it going to go? We're not being told the custodian will be National Housing, it's called National Housing Fund. Corporation. We've not been told. We've not been told it's going to go to Ministry of Treasury. We've not been told where it's going to go. So it's money that the government is creating to steal from the workers. Period. Nothing else.
That's a strong statement. We had the PS for housing, Charles Hinger, here. And the question that you've responded to was asked of him. And he said that everything that you've mentioned, yes, hasn't been done, but will be done. He said the introduction and the discussion around the housing fund is just that. But for the money to actually be deducted, for it to be collected, the structure within which those monies will be nestled are yet to be created. And he said they will be created before that money is actually deducted.
So do you put structures in place first, or you get money first? Because now this is May. June is next. This is May.
Yeah,
it is May. June. This is the last day of May. Tomorrow is June.
And this finance bill, if it goes through, it comes effect from first. People will be taking money on first. Where will it go? Where are those infrastructure that have been created for the money to be collected? And this is billions. It's not small money. So we are saying that, yes, affordable housing program is something that is supported by everybody, by all of us. All of us want to have homes, but how is it supposed to be implemented? Workers are not supposed to be used as a milking cow to get money for purported government programs. Look here, the employers have gone and they have said they don't want to pay, and they have agreed with the government secretly, and they have signed an agreement that they will not contribute. But for you as a worker, no one is there to defend you. When we defend, like myself, I've come so strongly. You know what they are doing? Oh, we want to create another union for the nurses so that we kill Panyako. Government has refused to think. It is thinking of how to ruin Panyako. You can ruin me. I can go anywhere in this world and I'll survive. I have been in the union only 10 years and I've lived more than 40 years. So you see, I've lived about 50 years now. So that's not something that is going to resolve the resolve of the workers to defend their rights and say no to housing levy, no to NHI, to NHIF increases. Why are we supporting NSSF? We're not crying much about NSSF because NSSF, ideally, we have other companies that do not have any retirement program for their workers. Okay. Even some of the trade unions, we have employees and we do not have programs for retirement packages. Though my union has it. We are members of Lab Fund. So we feel like it's extremely important for those workers to force those employers who do not have a retirement scheme for the employees to have something to retire and go home. That's why we're not fighting NSSF. It's a good thing. And for those who are in Lab Fund and those who are in public servants pension scheme, they are not being deducted tier 2 and above. So that one is an issue resolved and we are supporting it as workers. But NHIF, NSSF, we have already 4,000 shillings have been taken from our pay slips. Mortgage has gone. we had car loan, it has gone. Now instead of them telling us where the money went, they are telling us now they want us to start to deduct 3% so that those who don't have houses can get houses. When Hinga was asked, how will I get that house? He said, you'll do a lottery. You do a lottery. And if you don't get it, and if you get the lottery, you will pay the house at market rate. Because even affordable houses is being done at market rate.
Seth, is it the first time that you've heard of these measures?
No.
Are you
Which
saying
measures?
that during the campaigns, as you were designing your campaign, because you say you were there in the design of the Kenya Kwanza political campaign, as you're designing the campaign, as you're going in your own home constituency and selling this manifesto, you had no idea at all how housing was going to be funded. You had no idea at all what kind of taxes the Kenya Kwanza administration would bring, or what kind of taxes the Kenya Kwanza administration would remove, that you were actually caught by surprise when the finance bill was published. Is that what you're saying?
I'm a stranger to this government. I don't believe it's a government we put in place, because what it is doing is contrary, completely different from what we expected from it. You saw the president was in Namanga, he was in Kakamega, and he was saying, hii mambo ya kuongeza mafuta kila siku hawajui vile inaharibu uchumi wa Kenya. We will remove that 8%. Now he's telling us he's going to increase the 8% to 16%. You know, what kind of, do you think I can tell, if elections were to be held today, government imevunjwa leo, tunasema turudi kutafuta kura, what will I tell my people? What will I tell them? There is no hustler anymore. Which hustler? Hustler is being milked. Center, left, right. If you are not careful, we are headed to where we are going to have tax collectors who will move in every village and look for house girls and shamba boys. If they are not paid tax, they are arrested. Because from the way, now we see chamas, these things for akina mamas, chama, merry-go-round, now the chamas are going to be taxed.
Actually, Bwana Panyako, you've lived long enough to know that in the Moi era, Harambes were enforced.
Yes, those Makuru.
People would go to villages. People like my grandmother, if you didn't have money, they would take your chicken.
Yes.
You were going to contribute to that Harambe. It was not as though you participated in it.
It was forced.
And there are people who ensured that you participated in it. So, but back to this issue. You cannot say you are not a politician because you are a union leader. Union leaders are politicians.
I've not said I'm not a politician.
Yes. No, I have said you cannot say. I did not say you have said. I said you cannot say, claim to be, not to be a politician. Are we, if I'm listening to you, are we saying that you have come to this firm position that we can no longer excuse things politicians say as political promises, which must be taken with a pinch of salt, and that everything politicians tell us they will do must be taken as ezu?
Exactly. And that's where we parted with my party. You cannot promise people this thing and then you do the opposite. How do you expect me to walk in the village? People wakituona wanatuambia angalia hiyo watu. Hawa ni watu wa UDA. Hawa ndio watu wameanza kututax. Hawa ndio watu wanaongeza mafuta. Hawa ndio watu wameongeza sukari. Hawa watu wameongeza unga. And we told people we'll reduce unga. It has not been reduced. You saw in Busia. When the president was trying to tell people unga is 1 feet, what was he told? Uongo. If you are a president and raia wanakuambia uongo, you know it is wrong. You should be properly advised if you are a president. If mimi nikiwa rais wa Kenya, nitaenda supermarket mwenyewe niangalie bei ya bidhaa huko. Nione kweli hii unga iko 150 ama hakuna. But you can't go in public and say unga iko 150, then raia wanakuambia uongo. It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed that we used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta that he was doing politics of conmanship. Sisi ndio serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax then you double. You cannot say you bring the cost of living down then you want to make it go up. Life for Kenyans is going to be very difficult for us. In fact, if this bill goes through, I don't know how we shall survive in this country.
Let's take a break. It's 8:30. Kenya's biggest conversation. Seth Panyako is the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, and he's in the studio. Until last week, Friday, he was the Vice Chair of UDA until he received a call from the President. He was told, you know, the way you're behaving, my friend, I think it's best if you just left the party.
And now you see they don't know what to do.
He said he's going to leave the party.
You know, they don't know what to do. Immediately, Malala came and said I was not an official. Itumbi said I was not an official. People went on the social media and produced everything. Now you have heard him. I saw yesterday he was saying he has not chased anybody. They don't know what they're doing. Clearly.
You have not been chased. You said you're going to leave and you have not left. 28 minutes to 9. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning. Seth, kunywa chai. It's called assistii.
In fact, I wanted to ask for water.
Serve him some. Serve him some tea.
I think you need a little bit of tea. A cuppa will help right about now to try to calm things down. And that's what it does.
I actually needed water.
Okay, don't worry.
Water and tea is coming.
We'll serve the tea. From the Kiptagich Tea Estates in Kurosoi South District, they bring you assistii in many variants, grown, packaged, manufactured here, available on the local market as well as the international market. It's great stuff. Have a cuppa every day.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, you know it's
Sugar and spice.
Great vibes, conversations, a lot of humor. I like to say we don't give an F, we give 3 Fs.
You and I are in this relationship, so it is me to tell you who we are.
When you ask a chick, how many guys have you been in? She's like, including you. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. If I were you, I'd tune in to Spice FM 94.4.
I want you on my team.
So does everybody else.
Yeah. Still cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 22 and lows of 14, and we'll see lows of 14 as well in a sunny Nakuru at 17. It's 16 and sunny in Nyeri, going to highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 24 in a sunny Eldoret at 16, 25 and mostly cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 in a partly sunny Malindi at 25. It's sunny at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 26 in Kakamega, currently at 19. It's 19 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 26 and highs of 30 in Dar es Salaam. 11 and mostly cloudy in Johannesburg, going to highs of 15, and we'll see highs of 31 in a mostly clear Lagos at 26. At 23, Kinshasa is partly sunny. It will go to highs of 31.
Spice up your life.
Now on Langata Road is dwindling. It's still quite heavy as you get onto that entrance of Rilo Dingaway, getting out towards Ngong Road. So that still continues to be a bit of a hold up. We're seeing traffic getting lesser on Jogger Road, but still heavy on Landis. Something going on Landis Road this morning, so quite heavy. Juja Road, still a mess as it is, coming in from Survey on the Thika Superhighway. Kiambu Road is not doing too badly, starting out strong and finishing stronger as well. So let's look at Limuru Road, still some traffic there. And on the other side of things, coming off North Airport Road still continues. So still in traffic hour. Let's check back at about 9 and see what it looks like. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Kenya's biggest conversation continues with Seth Panyako, Secretary General of the Nurses Union, and also the man who until recently says he was a vice chair of UDA. Now, Seth, you sound really, really disappointed this morning. But in all these conversations, you have mentioned not once, not twice, other people working around the president and cartels around the president and those that think that they have powerful positions within the party. Are there other battles that you're fighting?
You see, me, basically, the work that I do, I've been employed to speak. That's the work that I do, to speak for my members. And any obstacle that comes before my members and generally on the public, because I'm also a politician, I will tackle it the way it comes. There are cartels around the president. I'm telling you, on Monday, the chairman for Lab Fund resigned, the board where I sit on. On Thursday, we had the CEO for Lab Fund resigning and joining National Social Security Fund, David Koros, as the managing trustee. So as a board, looking at the State Corporation Act, Section 5, Clause 3, gives the board the powers to appoint a CEO. So we had arranged an AGM on Friday, and everything had been done, money had been used. So we said, now, since the CEO has left, we can't postpone the AGM, and the AGM cannot be done without a CEO. So we appointed an acting CEO on Thursday. But the cartels within the president, surrounding the president, forced the board to overturn that appointment a day later, on the day of the AGM. Immediately after the AGM, we were forced to go into a board meeting.
What do you mean forced?
These cartels around the president, they're about 6 guys from one ethnic community. And I'm very blunt, because I do not care. This country does not belong to an ethnic community. There are people who believes about 6 guys around the president from one ethnic community who are pulling strings in government, who wants to manage each and everything, who want to know, even a cleaner, they want to know which cleaner is being employed is from where. They want to have a hand on everything. So they kept on, in fact, the chairman received threats, and ultimately he received a phone call from the president himself.
Okay.
He was very harsh, and I was there when the phone call went through. I saw messages from those cartels and the president himself. So
How many members
we
on the
had
board?
to. We are about 11. We are 11 actually. So we reversed that decision, but I had my dissenting voice. I said, I want you to capture that I am opposing the resentment, because there's no reason being given. And immediately after that, the chairman was now being threatened clearly. So he said, I can't hold on anymore. And I mean, Daddy resigned on Monday from the chairman of the board. Now today, because we rescinded the decision of Galm Jeldesa as the acting CEO, we don't have a CEO at Lab Fund, and we don't have a chair. The board cannot meet. The organization cannot run. Just because some few cartels around the president. When we decided to take Galm Jeldesa as the acting CEO, we looked at the files of the top 3 management there were actually top 5, but the 3 of them are second to the CEO, 2 are below, but they are all at the same level when you look at the laws and the regulations. But they have been frustrated, the 2 of them. They are supposed to be at the same level, so we're supposed to have 5 top management, but they have 3, then 2 are a step below. So we have to go for those who are high, 3 of them. We looked at their files. The only person who had a clean file, no different letter, no nothing, was Galm Jeldesa. 2, he's also on contract. So we said, this one whose file is clean and also is on contract is suited to be the acting CEO. And some people in government speak like they don't care. Somebody asks you, how do you give your state corporation like this and you have not given us something? It is mad. It is. I don't understand.
There's something I want to understand. I hear what you've said. I hear you very clearly. There are 11 of you.
Yes.
The sort of pressure that is brought to bear to the point where a whole board makes a decision that, from what you tell us, they were not inclined to make, but now they are put in a position where they have no choice.
Yes.
What exactly are you told? If there are threats, what are the threats?
You are told rescind that decision.
That's it.
Or you will know who the government belongs to. You have no right to make any decision.
Seth,
let me ask you.
How did you get to the board?
I got to the board through the pressure from the court. I went to court because I represent workers, and they had removed workers from the board. So I went to court, and they went to court and said, we are doing out of court. Even the suit is still alive. So it's the court that called me to the board. I represent workers. I'm not appointed by the government.
Okay.
And we are 2 of us, myself and Honorable Robert Duba. He comes from the County Government Workers Union, and from the Kenya National Union of Nurses, because we are the 2 biggest union in public sector. But we are supposed to be 5, not less than half. That's what the Retirement Benefit Authority say. And that's why my
representatives of the workers must be 5 in the board.
Must be half. Must be not less than half. And no decision can be made if workers are not there. But in this board, even whether workers are not there, decision can be made. But let us go back to the issue of appointing the CEO and rescinding the decision. Let me now ask you, The chairman who comes in, the CEO who comes in, who has been brought now by the powers that be, and the board is supposed to oversight over him.
Who appoints a chairman of a body, like that board of yours?
Is it supposed to be the president?
Okay.
Who appoints the chairs of all state corporations in Kenya. But what I'm trying to say is, if the CEO they want comes in, even if it's a worker, or they pick another worker, or they now leave Galma, they take another person and they bring. This person is supposed to be answerable to the board. Now the board has no say for how he's coming in. How is the board going to be to oversight this person who has now been brought without the knowledge of the board and without input of the board?
The board is supposed to determine who the CEO is.
Exactly. Okay. Now you are being told you cannot. You have no powers to do that.
All right. I want to come back a little bit, Tess, because again, yes, you do seem pretty frustrated with a lot of these things that are going on right now. And you talked about the fact that what you see playing out today is not what you had assured Kenyans of as part of the party that went into full swing campaign mode before September, right, before August, before the election, right? Of the many things that they said they were going to do, I mean, then there are quite a number of them, which, some of them are in the works. For the ones that you are surprised about today, or rather that are unpalatable, how did they say at that point, whether it was inner circles or wherever the conversation was had, how did they say they were going to fund some of these things that made you comfortable with sending the message even to the constituencies that you talk about? How did they say that they were going to fund these programs?
I think myself, coming from the workers' movement, I assumed that we will use the funds available the way Uhuru Kenyatta was doing, and through public-private partnership, and using the money that I've already said are there in state corporations, whose mandate is among them is to do housing. That was my thinking. But I think most of us were hoodwinked because we were never told where the money is going to come from. We were just being told we will do 250,000 houses per year. We will do affordable housing. We'll provide jobs. Are you trying to have the only jobs you want to bring to Kenya ni kazi ya mjengo? Hiyo ndio kazi ya kupewa Kenya pekee yake. Hakuna kazi nyingine. We can't think beyond construction.
Are you saying you're unaware that even in the Uhuru Kenyatta administration, there was a plan to roll out the National Housing Fund?
It was already there, and it is there. So we have houses in Ngara.
No.
Under that program.
Are you saying you're not aware of the plan to roll out the housing fund?
We opposed.
In the Uhuru administration.
Went to court.
Yes.
And it was 5% at that time.
It was 1.5%.
1.5%.
Yes.
We opposed, went to court.
Was your union among those that went to court?
Yes, of course.
Was your union among those that then withdrew the case?
No. Our case was never withdrawn. You see, when the court said that dismissed the case, allowed our suit, and that thing collapsed. And even Omtata was also in court, and he's also allowed. You heard him say in Busia. So it will follow the same route. If we have nobody listening to us, we hope the judiciary will be able to listen to us. Yeah.
So you did not have a conversation at all, even during the campaigns, on this housing fund?
No, I'd be lying to you.
You are unaware?
I'd be lying
But you are aware of the NSSF issue as well that was stuck in court?
NSSF, I have no problem with that.
And you're aware
I've said that one, I have no problem.
Unions withdrawing their objection to the NSSF? But you're not aware of unions withdrawing their objection to the housing fund?
The housing fund, we have not gone to court, the current one. But the 1.5%, the court quashed it. So other unions that were in court and the matter had already been determined will definitely remove their matters. Because there's no need to prosecute something that a determination has already been made in your favor. Yeah. For this one, for NSSF, well, it's a good thing, but even the way it was removed, we didn't know. It's a good thing, but even the way it was removed, we should have been called and be told, you see now, we have decided to remove this matter. But we don't go in a boat to somewhere, cut deals and go remove the matters to telling workers. But it's a good thing, despite the fact that it was not properly withdrawn.
Okay.
It is something worth supporting. Like employers, let me tell you, the employers outside there who don't care about their employees when the time for retirement comes. And that's why NSSF comes in. We must support it. It must have strong leadership because and I like NSSF because NSSF, when you don't have court representative, no forum. When you don't have FK representative, no forum. It means the employer and the worker cannot run away from decisions being made. And that's the structure I love about NSSF. So it is something we must support for those who don't have pension schemes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, coming back to where these conversations were being had, what was the moment when you realized, okay, folks, we cannot do this and I have to come out and start to speak about some of these things and hope people will hear, before the president called you and said, it's best you go? What was the moment when you realized, according to you, that things were going south?
First of all, after elections were over, I think they had known that they had known what they were doing that I didn't know, and they knew that I will oppose. There was communication was cut between me and State House, and initially we used to sit with the president, deputy president. Then we'll talk, we'll plan how we're going to do, how we'll do things in Kenya, and he'll even call me oftenly, even once in a week, sometimes twice, sometimes even 3 times in a day. And we'll discuss, and he's a good friend of mine. But immediately after he went to office, he stopped receiving my calls. He stopped receiving my, and there's something going wrong. Poop! Then I saw the finance bill. Oh, so this is why they knew I'm going to oppose this thing. Now when it came up, the finance bill, everybody was up in arms. Workers are calling me center, left, right. We don't want this thing. Unusual, I'm directed by my workers. Those I represent, because I am not employed by government. I'm employed by the members who pay me my salary, and they pay me ostensibly to represent them, and they pay me handsomely. And that's when I heard somebody saying that I was not given some key position in government, and that's why I rebel. I said those are political jokes.
Is that true?
Because when I was here, initially when I was here, even when you asked me that question, I told you I'm not joining politics to look for money. I'm comfortable with what I have. The kind of position I'm holding today is bigger than being a CS, honestly speaking. It's bigger than a PS. You have seen friends that will talk about this issue, that they can't even be a president. It's bigger than a president. It's true. Trade unions who have grown in the field, like I told you, you can't even be a president. He's a big man. When you look at what he controls in his own income in a month, it's above 30 million. Why do you want to come and fight? And you have not gotten money from politics, because politicians get their wealth from politics through cutting deals. So they must continue to be empowered to protect what the ill-gotten wealth.
Did you know this? Okay, see, now this is the thing that I'm conflicted about.
Yes.
That you're convicted of this position right here today, but it is not something that is new. We know these things. You knew this last year when you were pushing for the party, but you pushed for the party to get into administration. So then that position, which some folk, which you've admitted to right now, hold, that maybe there was a position that you were not given, or something rocked the boat that you were not happy with, and then that is why now you're being so open about this issue. Because these things that you're saying right now, they're not new. They're not new thoughts. They're not new beliefs. They've been there before. So that's why I have to ask now for the 3rd time, what happened to make you then be so overtly against this position, for one that you were so much in support of just 9 months ago?
I don't know. The things you are saying, they are not new. It is not new.
That politicians go and seek office in order to cut deals to make back the money that they did, which you've just said?
No, I didn't say phenomenon. That. I said some politicians ostensibly want to remain in politics actively, even fight. You see, when you look at the money you put in politics in Kenya, for example, you literally, and I'm sorry to say this, our voters expect you to buy them, to vote for you. So when you look at the money that you spend distributing to voters across the country and doing things, going to chamas, going to charge contribution, where and where, you look at those millions. Actually, they run into billions.
That you spend?
Yes. When you look at that and you look at the salary, for example, of a president, why will you spend these billions to become a president? These politicians, some of them, they just want to protect what they have. It's not an issue like they want presidency to get anything. Some leaders, and those that have died poor, those who are genuine politicians, they die poor. They don't die within the type of Martin Shkuku and the rest. They die poor without anything. Genuine politicians. For us, I was trying to tell you that for us in trade union movement, if you come from a strong union like mine, like Kotu, like Plantation Union, these big unions with proper financial muscle, you're able to be properly paid, remunerated. And then when you grow, you now become international leader like Francis. You have so many sources of income. So in a month, you can even have income of over 30 like Francis now. So Francis will not want to become a president because he has nothing to protect. His wealth has come from the things he has done for the workers. No one is coming for his money. You see? But now when you are an ordinary politician...
Why did you join politics? Did you want to become an MP?
First was a push from my people to offer an alternative leadership. In Malabar constituency, after the death of Soita Standard, when he left the Malabar politics, the things he did have remained there. No steps have been taken. In fact, Malabar constituency has gone back 20 years. So the people said we needed a change. But you see, even that's politics, that's corruption. If you're not in the system doesn't... You work with people, you think they're with you. Kumbe they're not with you. I'm telling you, this Kenyan politics is funny. People give you the ticket to run on their ticket. Kumbe they are not with you. They are saying if this man is elected, we shall be in trouble. We must make sure it doesn't go through. But let him look for votes for us. But at the last minute, we make sure he's not in the leadership. He's not elected. And that's what happened in this country.
Wait a minute. So are you saying that your own people sabotaged you?
Of course, yes. Right from 2017. That's what they've been doing to me. And that's why I'm saying I have left.
Your own...
I've left
your own kitchen cabinet.
I'm telling you.
Or are you saying
it was
your
my
own...
own people who took away my victory in Malabar constituency. My own people. And something so funny that your people will join the opposition to fight Panyako. It has happened twice. So I'm thinking of leaving politics altogether, concentrating on the issue of the workers, because I think politics is just an ass. I don't have.
So you are getting into this thing not for money, because
no.
The union pays.
Which money?
Right?
I'm paid salary.
So you are joining this so that you can serve the people.
Exactly.
So even if you had gotten an appointment into a government position,
no, not appointment,
you'd have gotten in there to serve the people. I mean,
not appointment.
Why not appointment?
Because I have a job.
Oh, okay.
I have a job, a good job. This is a good job. It's not a bad job. Why do I go to PSCS? Alafu asubuhi mnapiga simu mnasema deadlines. Someone wakes up tomorrow and fires you. I can't allow that kind of work. I would rather go home and rest. Yeah, take care of my cattle. Small mbuzi huko. How do you leave a good job that you and then you go for a job you can be fired tomorrow? How? Something must be wrong with you.
So now the finance bill is going through the motions of Parliament, right?
Yes.
You've expressed your opposition to it. If it passes through Parliament, as the Secretary General of the Nurses Union, what next for you?
We have already put mechanism in place to... The lawyers are waiting for it. In fact, petitions have already been drafted. We are waiting to finalize. If it goes through, we headed to the courts to oppose it, because something very interesting is that the courts have already pronounced itself on some of the matters, like the housing levy. So there's no way it will go against its earlier pronouncement. This is something that people are bringing up. Just they have failed to get money, and now they think workers' money is easier. And the class who I want to repeat, the class who that this regime is preaching will eat us one day. So our lawyers are already, they are going to go to court. Petitions are waiting. We will also go on the street.
Have you officially left the party?
No, I have not officially left the party. I'm supposed to have left on Monday, as I promised the president. But after that, there were certain things that went on. Cleophas Malala produced some statement on his Facebook page, and he said, actually, I've not been an official of UDA, and he was actually saying Omar Hassan is the vice chairman. The vice chairman. We don't even have a vice chairman in UDA. We have 3 deputy chairmen. Or in the office of the chair. We have 2 deputy secretary generals. We have 3. We have 3 deputy general secretaries, 3 deputy chairmen. We have 3 deputy treasurers in that. And then we have secretaries for different departments. And we are 3, like it was me, Marete, and Omar, who was brought in just the other day. He's not even gazetted yet. Even Malala is not gazetted, legally speaking. He's not as chief for UDA because he's not been gazetted. So when he said I was not a member of an official of UDA, I said, now look here, I need to get first clarification from the registrar of political parties on who are the current officials of UDA. The same thing happened with Itumbi. He came again and said, I'm not an official of UDA. And then I said, I will now not be resigning until today when I'm taking my letter to the registrar of political parties to give me an extract of the officials of UDA. Then my resignation will follow on Friday.
Who elected you as deputy chair?
it was the members of parliament. You know, when you're starting a political party, you don't start by elections. You start by having interim officials. Actually, interim officials. We are not fully confirmed officials because elections have not been done. They're supposed to be done in August. So all of us are interim officials until August when elections will be conducted. But I'll not be there then.
Let me ask this question because I do not know the response to it. If you were to resign, what would you do? What are the steps? How does one resign from a political party?
You just write a letter to the registrar of political parties.
That's it.
And indicate that you have left this party and also you have left there. Actually, you don't write to the party. You write to the registrar of political parties.
Okay.
That you have left the party, both as a lead, as an official, and as a member.
Okay.
Then the registrar will respond to you and say it has been effected. In fact, the registrar of political parties effect those changes immediately. When you are seated there, it's effected and you go back. Very efficient. Yeah.
Do you want to leave the party or just the position of the
I'm leaving the party. This is a yellow party.
So you don't then even need to know who the officials are.
I don't care.
If you leave the party today.
But people, this conmanship. This conman. I want to be a very straightforward person. This conmanship of people saying that I've never been a union of an official of
the party. Yes.
It's foolishness. And the people must know the current position the way it is. Once people see it, then I leave that party because it's a party of conmen who don't believe in themselves. They don't even know who the officials are. I asked Malala, do you know who officials are? If you don't know the structure of the party, we don't have one. We don't even have a vice chair. He was saying, Omar Hassan is the vice chair. We don't have a vice chair. We have a deputy chair, 3 of them. I will play a small role in this country. I want to be remembered as a person who stood as an upright person. If you challenge me, I must go out there, use all the resources I have to ensure that I counter that challenge. And if I make a mistake, I'll be very quick to say, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake.
Where will you go to next? Will you join another political party?
No. We are starting a movement called the Partless People's Movement. A movement that don't want to belong to any political party. Because political parties are now yellow political parties. They belong to individuals. If someone does not agree with you, a phone call away and you are told leave. And you must leave. They are very powerful. You cannot argue with them.
Panyako, ODM began as a movement as well.
No, we will not form a political party.
And then it became a political party.
Seth Panyako, Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, is a guest. And he says he is a deputy chair of the UDA party and he wants to resign from the party and from the leadership of that party. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, we'll keep track of what you'll do as you go forward.
Thank you very much.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. Seth will be joining us on Saturday as we run for the Matter Heart Run. We'll be telling you more about it in the next hour. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Kafinol na Kafinol Extra, dawa bora kutoka Better Healthcare International.
The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Environment and Climate Change PS Festus Ngeno has said Kenya was accelerating the adoption of circular economy as part of its sustainable waste management so as to create green jobs alongside a safe and clean environment. Speaking when he addressed the 3rd Kenya International Investments Conference at a Nairobi hotel, Ngeno regretted that the country had not fully mainstreamed circular economy despite over 90% of the 8 million tons of waste generated annually being either organic or recyclable. Ngeno noted that Kenya's traditional linear model of industrial production coupled with the country's low uptake of circularity had led to massive environmental pollution and advocated for the pollution and full adoption of circular economy as a sustainable fix to the sorry state of affairs. Engineers in the country will now be required to log in and register the projects they are handling. Chairman of the Engineers Board of Kenya, Erastus Mongera, says these will help to create a transparent and accountable system for tracking and monitoring engineering projects. The board explains that these will also serve as a centralized platform where engineers can conveniently register their documentation, a move that will rid the profession of quacks. Low registration rate, consumption and delivery are some of the challenges that have rocked the engineering profession. Now, the newly reconstituted KEMSA board is currently engaged in a 3-day induction exercise. The induction is purposed to appraise them on the various concerns and challenges facing the authority, as well as steer management towards developing a robust roadmap aimed at repositioning the organization on the right track. Speaking at the meeting, KEMSA board chair Irungu Nyakera emphasized on the need for a paradigm shift that will reposition KEMSA. Non-governmental organizations in Kakamega County have continued to mobilize members and residents to see that they are properly involved in an activity of giving opinions before the government implements projects. Linda Italia and Reverend Oscar Wekesa, the leaders of the Kakamega Development Trust, want citizens to be fully involved in government projects.
Tunajumuika na members wetu weza kujadiliana ni jinsi gani ambayo tunaweza kuwasaidia in terms of capacity building, waweze kuparticipate in policy development. Policy development is very technical. Shirika letu is a trust. Members wetu, they come from various organizations, from community-based organizations to NGOs to faith-based self-help groups. Tunataka kufanya kazi na hao.
CSOs wanajaribu kuwa organized kwa njia ambayo wanapoongea sauti zao zitasikizwa vizuri na zitakuwa na lengo moja badala ya kuwa na malengo mengi hapa na pale na huko na kule.
Justin Mutubera from the Ministry of Lands in the Kakamega County Government has asked local leaders to ensure that the residents are involved in every step of experiencing their opinions.
Tunasema kuna mapendeleo kwa wale ambao wanaenda kwa public participation wale na mimi nitaweza kuwasihi maafisa wetu nyanjani, kwa sababu hao ndio wanachagua wale watu public participation, kujua ni stakeholders wa gani wako kule nyanjani wajumuisha wakati wa public participation. Lakini kile nitaomba tu ya kwamba KAGRID endelee kuhamasisha, kwa sababu inafika mashinani.
The United Nations World Food Programme is scaling up its emergency response to support hundreds of thousands of Kenyans affected by the impact of nearly 3 years of drought. WFP is ramping up to support more than 940,000 drought-affected people, an increase from almost 600,000 people it supported last year. The longest drought in the whole of Africa's recorded history has left 4.4 million people in Kenya facing crisis levels of hunger or worse. Almost 1.5 million young children and women are acutely malnourished, and nearly 3 million livestock have perished. The United States government, through the U.S. Agency for International Development, has contributed $390 million in 2022 and 2023, the largest contribution by any single donor to WFP's emergency drought response in Kenya. And Mandera has moved to solve the perennial water crisis in the county. The County Department of Water Services has developed a master plan for achieving universal basic access to water, sanitation and hygiene. The master plan, in which all water infrastructure expansion projects in the area have been anchored, targets to expand the piped water network and sewerage system in Takaba Town, Mandera West Sub-County by the year 2040. According to Deputy Country Representative UNICEF Mahmoud Ahmed, 8.58 billion shillings will be needed for the project completion, which will be in 5 phases. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, and there's traffic still on some parts of these streets. Some outbound traffic on the Thika Superhighway coming in as well past Survey. We're looking at Kiambu Road still. Everybody's coming into the CBD, get that last minute business done before Madaraka Day tomorrow. We're looking at traffic on Kangunda Road, still a bit heavy as you're coming out towards the junction at Outer Ring, so that continues for now. North Airport Road was a mess earlier. In and outbound traffic is starting to fizzle out, so you should be okay. The Likoni interchange is spilling off some traffic then out towards the southern bypass. Apart from that, it's manageable. Gong Road is chugging along coming into the city, and it's looking a little bit better coming off of Wayaki Way as well as James Gishoro. Let's look at about 9:30, see what it looks like then. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only
It's
way
7
to
minutes
start
after
your day.
9, on to the final hour of the Situation Room, on to the final hour of the Situation Room this month. Kenya's biggest conversation. What's happening on Saturday?
We're running.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it with the Matter Heart Run, and we're making sure that children will have access to medical treatment for their heart conditions that ordinarily would not be able to afford it. So the Matter Heart Run asks folks to come together and buy merchandise, 1,000 shillings for a t-shirt, 500 for a cap, and 300 for a wristband at all your Naivas supermarkets and other outlets as well, making sure that this money comes into a pool, and these children can get the much needed surgeries and then have another shot at life. Come run June 3rd, this Saturday. Let's do it.
How does one register though?
Okay, so there are a number of ways. You can go to the website, but then also interesting enough, once you buy where you buy your merchandise, you fill out a form and then you get your stuff and then you're on in for the races.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
It is.
Alrighty. Also, remember, if you want to have the best chai in Kenya is Assis tea. How many flavors again?
I don't know how many, but
How
we're looking
many?
at, City knows them. He's
There's
read them all.
purple tea, there's green tea, there's hibiscus, there's tangawizi, there's black tea, there's masala tea, there's lemon tea.
I've counted 7. What?
My friend.
Wow.
Yani,
wow.
By the time you've gone through that list, you've drunk a great deal of tea.
Kabisa.
Yes, and one could argue you have enjoyed the flavors of Kenya.
Very good. From Kiptagich Tea Estates.
Yes.
The day's proverb, City.
The day's proverb from the country of Madagascar. When the king reigns, it is thanks to the people. When the river sings, it is thanks to the stones.
When the king reigns, it's thanks to the people. When the river sings, it's thanks to the stones. Asante sana. You know, yesterday there was this meeting, the parliamentary group meeting of the Azimio coalition political parties. And they met, and after that they came out, and that's a headline today. They came out with several resolutions. Resolution, for example, is we are going to suspend the bipartisan talks until our conditions are met. And they've been talking about those conditions and telling the Kenya Kwanza side, you must do something. So also they say Kenya Kwanza must agree that all Jubilee MPs who have defected have to resign and face by-elections. Then also the finance bill as presently crafted must be withdrawn and replaced by a bill that appreciates Kenyans suffering. And the government was given until midnight. Midnight
today?
Yesterday.
Oh, midnight yesterday?
Yes, until the end of day yesterday.
Oh, so that was
to
yesterday.
Withdraw.
Otherwise.
They left it that.
Otherwise, wataona moto.
Mtajua. Then they said they reject the finance bill in total. Now, the otherwise bit is where everybody now hangs in the balance, and that's why maybe the headline in the Standard today is it's back to the streets, because as the Azimio leaders say they'll not resume bipartisan talks as the government is pushing the finance bill that will worsen the cost of living, meaning demonstrations are likely the next step. It's not clear whether that's the next step.
Eric, do you see this discussion around the finance bill as one of those momentous things that actually bring the most unlikely people together? Meaning, you have people who support the government, you have people who don't, you have people who are somewhere in the middle, there are people who are... And suddenly there's a finance bill. And somehow you're hearing voices that ordinarily had not really sided with whichever political party or whichever political affiliation we have. Are we seeing this finance bill as one of those things that will galvanize people to gang up together? I'm using the word gang up deliberately. Because somehow they have something in common, because the Mwananchi, the populace, the citizens of the country do not seem to like this idea of the bill. Do you think it is one of those things?
It could be.
There's a possibility.
But it is not.
Yes.
Because the opportunity here would be that there'd emerge some sort of leadership that coalesces people around the rejection of the finance bill or the objection to the finance bill. There's just noise.
What we hear is pockets.
Yes.
There's this group, there's this union that doesn't like it, there's the other union, then there are people from this region, a few people who don't like it. You're saying there is the unified voice saying, but I thought Azimio were unified. Or Azimio is just one of the voices.
Azimio is a voice that is saying no to a bill, all right? But it's not being realistic. That's my issue.
How do you mean?
You see, the finance bill is not like which bill was recently passed in Parliament? Pick another one. Let's say today there was
a raft of bills that have been passed.
Let's say today there was a proposed amendment to the Communications Act. Okay.
Yes.
And there was a bill that was taken to Parliament to amend the Communications Act. So let's call that the Communication Amendment Bill. Okay. If there was a rejection of the Communication Amendment Bill, basically what you'd be saying is either you voted no or you withdraw it and you go and think about it and come back later. Meanwhile, the existing law continues to serve. The finance bill is basically the one that says this is how government shall be financed.
Yes.
Okay?
In
there
short.
must be a finance act. This is one of those that there must be a law that is passed around this time for how to finance the government. It's not one of those that, you say, we are opposed, or, let's reject the whole thing, and then we'll come back next year and discuss it again.
There has to be a finance
There has to be a finance
Because in the absence of a finance bill, the government really doesn't have the teeth, the legs, the structure with which to actually realize whatever revenues they need to conduct their businesses.
Yes. Right? So, because they have to have that, and because this must also be accompanied by the budget laws, the Appropriations Act and the others, these are important pieces of legislation.
They are.
Now, when I look and I hear the leadership of Azimio saying no to the finance bill, I'm okay with that. But that should not be the end of it. What I expect, and I have said this before, even to the leadership of Azimio, what is the opportunity that Azimio is missing here, which is a big one, is to show us how they would be the alternative government.
Meaning, break down everything that is in that bill or that you oppose and say, this is what they're proposing and this is what we think will lead to. We would say that instead of this, we ought to have this because this will then produce this, which is completely contrary to what these guys are saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Something of that sort.
Exactly. This entirety of the budget conversation, right? From the budget itself, is it 3.6 trillion shillings? If Azimio is against 3.6 trillion shillings, they should come out and say, no, the government should spend 3.1 trillion shillings or 4 trillion shillings. And this is why.
Yes.
Now, this is how the government wants to raise money. These people are going to tax you, including your teeth and your tongue. No. This is how the finance bill should look like. This man called the deputy party leader of ODM, the former governor of Kakamega County, Wycliffe Oparanya, had Chebukati said Raila Odinga instead of William Ruto, Oparanya would have been there?
Minister of Finance.
Minister for Finance. We should be hearing from Oparanya now, telling us how he would have presented his first budget. But we don't hear it. We just hear, no, we reject this thing in total because it's wrong. Okay, so what is it?
I think, isn't that the thing that a lot of times when you hear things like this, that then for those who oppose it, to be able to give a solution is usually a difficult thing, whether they want to admit it or not, for anybody, really. You want to think about human beings and just the way in which we are made up and how we have discourse around some of these things. That it's very easy to say this is wrong and it's going wrong, but because of the fact that you're not in a position of responsibility or authority, then you can take the easy road, isn't it? And say, well, look, you should fix this. If you don't fix it, then we can go to the streets or we can do whatever, isn't it?
But is that not the same conversation if you look at all the raft of political promises that were made during the electioneering period? How many of these people actually gave us a cost? How many of them give us the cost element? Tell us these things that we're proposing, this is what it is likely to cost you.
Right, so this is what's going to my point. And I think that look at everything that we're dealing with at the moment, all right? Look at the Constitution itself. Look at living out the Constitution. Who's gone through the details of making sure that people understand what it means to live out your Constitution and giving it spirit and life? When you talk about a manifesto, who's making sure that people really understand what it is about and that you've told them how you're going to cost it? Look at public participation when it comes to the finance bill. We talked the other day about, don't just say public participation. On this public participation, what are the very elements of this thing that I'm supposed to be coming to participate publicly about? And I think that's the thing. Even when you're saying no, the thing that you're saying no to, are you offering a solution then in terms of how this could work in the interim? If I'm telling you, don't go down this road, and I'm saying it's dangerous to go down this road, unfortunately, when you're dealing with people, you cannot leave it at that. You must be able to say, look, this is an alternative. And rather than have things go into flames, how about you use this alternative?
Especially when you are the alternative. And you stand there and you say, and I'm telling you this because I have a better solution, because I had better ideas of how this thing should run. All right? I look at all these conversations and, all these threats. Now there's an empty threat here by Azimio saying, by midnight today, withdraw that thing or else. And I just sit back and I ask myself, what kind of leadership is Azimio actually having? Because if the Azimio leadership was seriously leading Azimio and seriously looking at the number of members of parliament that it has, the number of supporters that it commands across the country and all those things, then it should be offering that kind of leadership and showing this is the direction. When you're coming out to oppose and say, I'm opposing this particular proposal, you come out clearly and say, I'm opposing the particular proposal on this ground and this ground and this ground and this ground. As they were speaking yesterday in this parliamentary group meeting, their members who are members of the finance committee were sitting listening to memoranda from people on the finance bill. Okay? They are members of the finance committee, which comprises the Kenya Kwanza side and the Azimio side. The members of Azimio in the finance committee have not quit the finance committee.
No, they haven't.
They are sitting in that committee. When that report will be taken to parliament, it will be signed by all Kenya Kwanza and Azimio people. And even if Azimio people don't sign up that report, they'll have participated in the meetings that have been listening and reviewing what people have been saying.
They haven't recused themselves from those gatherings.
Yes.
So they cannot say that they did not participate.
And when it comes to Parliament itself will sit and address these issues. When the bill is presented before the House, there will be a moment for it to be amended clause by clause and discussed clause by clause. What are the proposals that Azimio wants to take to the floor of the House and say, amend this particular clause in this bill, remove this and insert this instead. Remove this and insert this instead. Are we hearing that from Azimio?
Nope.
We're just hearing them saying no, vote no. Are they just saying that we are not even going to have a discussion, a conversation around this? Are they saying that we don't have any iota of persuasion that we can go to the floor of the House and try and persuade our members from Kenya Kwanza, even those that are hearing from their people and can see sense, we can actually show them the sense. Instead of putting VAT at 8, increasing VAT by 8% to fuel, let's do this and the other. There's no proposal that I'm hearing from them. And that's why I sit back and I tell myself, Azimio is completely rudderless. And they are wasting the opportunity here. And they will just go and play their dance and song. This thing will be voted for in Parliament. They will come out there screaming and saying, you know what, we rejected this thing, and they'll not have put any input into the finance bill. Who will have lost? The people of Kenya will have lost. Because their representatives who sent them to Parliament and Parliament is the one body that's created by the Constitution and given power to create budget, will have failed to do its job.
You know, it appears that we seem to have gotten into a rhythm that necessitates that opposition by its nature has to be vocal. But as to providing and stating and stipulating alternate solutions to problems that have been pointed out or problems that have been highlighted, that seems to be something that doesn't feature when we're talking about opposition politics in this country. Because I would have assumed that naturally, even if our system doesn't allow it, we would have a shadow government.
Yep.
There isn't that provision in our constitution, but it doesn't say you cannot have a shadow government. You cannot have people who, for every government ministry, you have an alternate who provides. When you have an issue of security, your shadow minister for security says, we as Azimio, this is what our stand would be on this particular issue.
Exactly.
On this one, we agree with the government, but on this one, we feel this ought to have been the alternative. So that the country has an opportunity to listen to alternate voices on each and every matter that we find has been brought to our attention, whether we agree or we find them contentious.
Yep.
Then the debate becomes wholesome.
Do you think that there is a transition from, the obvious and acceptable grieving process that Azimio went through, that transition period is not over?
Grieving over?
Having lost the election.
You know something?
Hold on. Having lost the election. So if we're looking through a transition period, this assumptive role that we're talking about of getting into the opposition and doing exactly what it's supposed to do in terms of opposing things and as well as giving solutions to others can actually not bear fruit if they've not sat properly in that thinking that we are in the opposition. There could be the thought in the minds of anybody who thinks is on the other side of government that, look, there's still an opportunity here for us to get into this thing.
Okay. So why not prepare yourself to get into that thing?
That's a good question.
Because if let's say today something happened that blah 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 abracadabra, and Kenya Kwanza said, okay guys, all right, okay,
we throw in the towel.
We throw in. You come in, take it over. So what would happen the next day? What is it that would happen? If they had already prepared themselves to take over government, they had already thought of this is how they would run our government. It's not something that's coming out of the blues. Just as late as August last year, this team was prepared to run government. In fact, we'd already been told, I'm already thinking Oparanya is going to be my CS for Treasury. I'm going to retain Munya in agriculture. I'm going to have Joho in lands. So there were already some thoughts. And Martha Karua is going to be in charge of, all these justice matters and fighting corruption and all this and the other. So there was already a lineup of things that how they were going to work. There's already been a conversation about leadership in the National Assembly. They're not grieving. They have a leader in the National Assembly and a deputy leader and a whip and a chief whip and a deputy whip. And one deputy whip has left and has been kicked out and a new deputy whip has been brought in. So they're already moving.
What's the role of an opposition?
To provide an alternative.
Yes, exactly.
So now, in an event that is not being done, what would you say is the problem?
That's what I call rudderless.
You know, the thing is...
the problem is leadership.
Let me ask you something, If you wanted to garner confidence and you wanted to whip up the confidence of a populace amidst the problems that a country like ours is having, beyond just existing as the opposition, so you're known, and here you are opposition because you're not in government, okay? Is this not an opportunity for you to actually state categorically the alternate government that you would provide? And how? Not by saying we'll provide an alternate government, but by shadow boxing with the government at every stage.
Beautiful. Now that's the point that I was getting to. You know what? Here you are thinking that an opposition should make an alternative if they really were concerned about these things that are being said here. if they were really concerned about Kenyans really suffering when it comes to paying a little bit more in taxes, if they're really concerned about the high cost of living and wanted to do something about it, you see these alternatives that we're talking about being sought after, they would come out. And I keep telling you, these things are political battles and they're being used to try and continue to gain some kind of expediency. If there was care for people and you are not in the position of office to do something about it, and you really cared about what's happening to Kenyans, you would call your friend and say, look, man, here, we're not in government. We're in the opposition. But let me tell you, here's an idea that I have that you can actually use. If you were really bothered, and that's where I'm getting to, that there is no real bother of care.
So all this is just dancing to the gallery.
Come on.
This is it.
Can't you see?
Essentially,
somebody really cared for your welfare.
Essentially,
it doesn't matter if they had the power of the purse. But if they really cared for your welfare, fine, I can't do it because I don't have the instruments of power. But I have enough in terms of political clout, in terms of the opposition and what that position requires you to do. You would see those alternatives that you're asking about. You would. Why don't you see them?
Do you know what you've just done? You've taken me back to primary school. That's what you've done, because the primary school I went to was predominantly Asian. In fact, when we first went to that school, there were 3 Africans. There was myself, my sister Florence, and a young lady called Sophia Mugele. 3 Africans in the whole school. Now, during your birthdays, some people would bring cake, some would bring sweets. Now, I remember what my parents could afford to give us to take to school was sweets. I never saw anybody rejecting the sweets. Everybody took what was given. But it was accustomed so that people celebrated your birthday. All right? Some even had birthday parties. Some, beyond the sweets, it was the end of it. But the parent would do what they were able to do. This is the point I'm getting at. And the children were happy with whatever was presented. I never saw a time when you said, I didn't pretty like the sweet. You took the sweet because you wanted the sweet.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking of government, and I'm thinking of people who present themselves as the opposition amidst this myriad of problems that we have. And I'm listening to the discussions, and I'm thinking, is this not the opportunity this government, that those in the opposition have, to have gone around the country talking about the alternate things that are available to citizens as opposed to what the government is proposing? Because nobody prevents them from doing so. Nobody prevents the MPs who represent the so-called opposition from making every time they go for their funerals or whatever they do, for making their case and say, we as Azimio, this is what we would do.
If you were actually bothered.
This is what we propose. This is how we see this thing should be done. One doesn't hear it. What one hears is the obvious, that this is not helping the citizens. We get that. So then what next? What alternative is there?
Unfortunately, this condition that Kenyans are in today, where people are complaining about life becoming a little bit more expensive, unfortunately, is currency that is being paid for expediency. That is it. Because you're saying, there are members of parliament who are in the said opposition. There are people who are at ward level. There are people who are at governor level, county level, the boss of counties, that can actually see the situation that people are suffering from. Are you kidding me? If you're really concerned, it doesn't matter who you are. I'll give you an example. If you're walking on the street and you see a child in a poor state, it doesn't matter who that child is. There's something that's going to prick you to do something about the situation.
True.
Right? Unless you really don't care. If you don't care, you will jump and pass, as we say. But if you cared, you would stop. And it really doesn't matter what's going on. But the person who has a possibility and the opportunity to do something about it, I'll say, come, Eric, you know what? I know that maybe I should have been the one in that seat. But let me just tell you, because things are going bad, I was the one. If it was not you, it was going to be me. And let me tell you what I would have done. Maybe it would not have worked, but let me tell you what I was ready to try. And that's what I'm telling you. Kenyans, every time you are told how they really do care about you, and I keep begging you, just believe them. You can be here shouting and running about in the streets, but is it going to bring the solution? You cannot tell me that somebody's not going to offer a solution because they're not in government. No.
In fact, opposition means that you say, I'm opposing this because of A, B, C, D, and this is what it should look like. If I'm opposing this cup looking like this, I'm saying, no, it shouldn't look like this. It should look like this.
You have an idea that there should be a better cup.
Yes.
So then should we assume
so that's what you should be pushing out there.
You also have no idea what the thing should look like.
Absolutely not. Wales is saying, are you soliciting for ideas for a government in office who came in to lead without knowing how to do it? No way. Azimio, we know how to do this, but let the rogue run this.
Run his
rogueness.
Actually,
do not think, Azimio, we're here to do the thinking for this incompetence of the day.
No.
This Kenya Kwanza is rotten. We will not think for it.
That gentleman,
or modify the mess.
I think that gentleman has a view that he has expressed, yes, but that is actually not government's work. Whether you're in it or out of it. The solutions, nobody has a monopoly on the solutions. It's not as though this government doesn't know what it ought to do. It does. But part of the reason why it's being opposed is that people feel that they are running rogue, that they are doing things that they ought not to do. Now, if it is known that this is not what they ought to do, then it means you know what they ought to do. How do you convince people you are a better alternative if we do not know what it is that you're offering? How are you a better alternative? A better alternative because you're pointing to the obvious that we know. It's our lived reality on a daily basis.
And that's why we have members of parliament, right? We have members of parliament so that they go into the chamber and debate, and they try to persuade each other. Those in the majority try to persuade those in the minority. See the side that I'm coming from. Those in the minority also do the same. It does not have to be that, because you sit on that side, anything you say, I say, no. This is Kenya, no. 27 minutes to 10. Let's take a quick break, okay? We'll be back shortly, and we want to hear from you as well. 0719-012-600. We are serving some assist tea this morning, and we are serving it to Azimio hot and asking, okay, so we are saying no to the finance bill. Very many people are opposed to various aspects of the finance bill.
As it should be.
Many have actually gone and presented their petitions to the Finance Committee of the National Assembly. Many, including media owners, including unions, including the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and others, have gone to the Finance Committee, which comprises both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza legislators. And what we're hearing now from Azimio is, let's reject this thing in total. Okay, so what's the alternative?
Where do we go?
What do we do? So how do we raise the taxes? Because let's say, no, let's not raise tax on VAT on fuel. Let's do this instead. 26 minutes to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is time for you to take your farming business to the next level, no matter how big or small your farming venture is. Agritech Africa and GrainTech Africa are inviting you to come and learn the latest technologies in agriculture, dairy, livestock, poultry, and grain farming. Over 150 exhibitors from all over the world will be at the KICC Nairobi from June 15th to 17th to show you how agriculture is being done globally. Entry is free. You cannot afford to miss this.
Cloudy conditions at 18 in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 22 and lows of 14 today. 18 and sunny in Nakuru, going to highs of 25, and 23 will be the high. In a sunny Nyeri at 18, it's 19 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 24, and 26 and partly sunny in Mombasa, highs of 29, 26 sunny conditions in Malindi, going to highs of 28. It's sunny at 23 in Kisumu, highs of 27, and will go to highs of 26 in Kampala, currently at 21. It's 28 and mostly sunny in Dar es Salaam, highs of 30, and at 11 it's mostly cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 15 and lows of 3. Kampala is cloudy at 21, and we'll see highs of 31 in Lagos, 24 and sunny in Kinshasa. Looking out into Beijing Tuesday afternoon heading to evening, it's 26 and cloudy, 14 and sunny in Paris, and 11 and cloudy in London. It's 13 and clear conditions in New York Tuesday night. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 13 coming into Wednesday.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, still looking at a little bit on the Thika Superhighway. Everybody who's touching on Outer Ring today looks much better. Onto Huru Highway coming in from the Nyeri roundabout. That's also slows down a few junctions here and there. But you should be okay getting into the city. Traffic hour essentially is over. Still talk to us through the morning on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Digital payment platform Pesapal has introduced a real-time settlement for merchants in Kenya, enabling fast transfer of funds into their accounts through Pesapal's e-wallet open float. Merchants who use the Pesapal platform can receive funds faster. Real-time settlement offers several benefits to merchants, including quicker access to funds, improved cash flow management, reduced risk of fraud, and better customer experience. Migori, Isiolo, Kajiado and Wajir have been ranked as the least budget transparent counties in 2022. Speaking during the launch of the County Budget Transparency Survey 2022, lead researcher Kipkorir Biegon singled out Migori and Isiolo, which have not published a single budget document in the last 2 years of the survey. However, West Pokot, Makueni and Kwale topped the list with the most transparent budgets, with scores of 78, 75 and 74 respectively out of a possible 100 points. About 5 in 10 of millennials pay between 11 and 50 shillings excluding platform fees to access online content every day. Another 13% pay more than 10 shillings daily, according to a new report on consumer trends that was published. Reasons for subscribing to or paying for digital content are affordability, interesting, relevant content, attractiveness, and the availability and reliability of the content. The Standard Group PLC is looking for an IT systems administrator with a bachelor's degree in IT with at least 2 years of experience in a busy IT environment. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 31st of May 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digger Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Azimio parliamentary group met yesterday and they gave the government until midnight yesterday to withdraw the finance bill or face the consequences, and saying that of course we are opposed to the finance bill because it will worsen the cost of living for Kenyans, and that's why they want it to be withdrawn completely and be replaced with one that is friendly to the people. Did they present one that is friendly? No, they didn't. They said you go and remove that thing and bring another one that is a bit friendly. Have they discussed what friendly measures should then go into the finance bill? We haven't heard. Did yesterday's meeting actually look back into this is a finance bill? Maybe they're having finance experts explaining to them, this is the problem with this is the problem with the other. This would be a better solution or a better proposal to be taken to Parliament. We did not hear it. At least they did not address the press with that kind of alternative. So in terms of now saying withdraw the finance bill or face consequences, one is left to wonder, so what would the consequences be?
Or if it was withdrawn, what alternative would you suggest?
Yes.
Because you're saying withdraw, we get that. And Azimio is at liberty to oppose whatever they wish to oppose in the manner that they wish. There's a small detail, however. The government, because it represents resources that we have given to them, they are not at liberty to do what they like with the resources as they see fit. So we expect that some direction ought to be given as to the alternatives that we feel would serve our interests better.
Yes.
Now, that's why we elect leaders, and that's why some of them are in the opposition, so that they can represent us in these things.
Yes.
I am seeing an opportunity lost. Because with an issue like the finance bill, someone like Oparanya, who was touted to have been the Minister for Finance, this is where Kenyans would have understood that this Oparanya knows what he's talking about.
This Oparanya understands.
He understands. He has broken this thing down nicely. It isn't a question of giving people ideas. The ideas are to benefit Kenyans. And if Oparanya says it, the whole country will know it is Oparanya who said it.
Yes.
So even if the Kenya Kwanza government adopts it, they know they're adopting Oparanya's ideas. But if that isn't there, an opportunity for the opposition to show the sort of government that they would have been leading and what they would have been doing is slowly ebbing away. It is going away. The opportunity to showcase the ability is actually being lost as we see, as we watch.
It is, and it's a bad thing. Remember when Mwai Kibaki was the leader of official opposition, and during budget time, he and Daudi Muraria, who was his shadow finance minister, would come up with their own alternative budget.
They would.
And they would say, this is what our budget would look like if you were the ones running government.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing that you need to see. And please do not forget that all those 100 plus members of parliament who were meeting at the parliamentary group meeting yesterday are paid by taxpayers to go to parliament to make a budget. Okay?
Yes.
Parliament makes budget.
Yep.
So each of those members who were sitting yesterday and saying no to this thing, they are the ones who are paid to make budget, plus the others in Kenya Kwanza.
Yes, not oppose budget, make. Yes.
So what is it that they want to do with our budget? Already they sat back and they, watched as the budget proposals were brought to Parliament. When the executive proposed to spend 3.6 trillion shillings, it was taken to the Budget Committee of the National Assembly, which has members of Azimio in it. Members of Azimio and those of Kenya Kwanza scrutinized the budget policy statement, and they passed and said, all right, yeah, government, you can spend 3.6 trillion shillings next year. Okay. Now, government is coming to show how it wants to finance that 3.6 trillion shillings. In other words, Parliament is about to give it a go-ahead to spend 3.6 trillion shillings and to raise at least 1.8 or whatever trillion shillings that they have said they're going to raise in this thing. And now Azimio is telling us, no, reject it. And then what?
Okay. The parliamentary committee is budget and finance. They all sit and they have these conversations. This is one of the conversations that they have been having in the committee sittings.
Yes.
When Parliament came back from a recess, this was front and center when the committees then broke from plenary and then sat and started to discuss. These committees are not made up of government, government affiliated members of Parliament alone. Right? They are made up of members of Parliament from across the divide. I'm curious as to what is being discussed during these committee meetings. Or do we have a situation whereby it's that thing the scenario where you described, where we say it is raining and somebody says no because of the fact that you're supposed to be in the opposition, without applying some kind of logic to the conversation? What happens during those conversations? Because then it is said that these individuals are also part of the larger group of those that oppose these things. I am very curious as to what happens during public participation. I'm very curious as to what happens at the ward level, at the constituency level, when these conversations are being had. And when these things will pass, those members of Parliament who sat on these committees, or those ones who went to their constituents and spoke in a certain manner, what did they say? Because these things will pass. What did you say in terms of, no, folks, we should be looking for an alternative? Whom did you actually represent? What did you actually say? And I think beyond the drama and beyond the whole circus drama that we are being fed, that these are the things that ought to be looked at. When we talk about participatory governance, when we talk about even this civic and public education, those are the things that we ought to be looking at. How fully did somebody actually represent you? How do you know that in terms of oversight, in terms of legislation, in terms of representation, that the person that you sent to Parliament was actually doing what they were supposed to do? Because what I see is that on one hand, there's this whole brigade where people are shouting, but then there's the other hand where people are guarding their little turf and saying, actually, guys, let's just make sure that this thing actually happens. There cannot be a dichotomy of ideas here. They can't.
The truly interesting things about human beings and the way we respond to stimuli A rabid opposition of an idea such as this finance bill, especially when the focus on the finance bill is just tax, not just tax, more tax. It's a unifying, it's a clarion call. We are being taxed enough. Now, it emboldens even those who are probably fence-sitting to feel, okay, even us, we can stand up and oppose. But then we get that, and it's important. And there needs to be a groundswell of people who are saying we don't want this. But then what do we want? You see, this is the other thing. What we don't want, we've gotten. We've understood. But can we have something else that we can work with? Because the government has to function. Services have to be provided. The country has to continue. If this method, for instance, that the government has chosen to collect more money through the finance bill is the method they have chosen, can we come up with an alternate that says you don't really have to tax people like this to collect more money?
Exactly.
In fact, let academia come in and chime in and say, actually, this method is guaranteed you'll collect less. This one, the one you've just proposed.
And you know the solution that you're talking about, CT, can be as simple as that.
Yes.
The alternative solution could actually be that thing that you've just said. You can even have opposition coming in and say, you know what? We actually want alternative minds in this conversation. And let people who have studied this thing come and be able to assist you
and analyze.
And allow you to make a better decision on how this thing would actually happen. Because the truth of the matter, whether you want to admit it or not, guys, truth of the matter is that Kenyans are overtaxed. It is true that Kenyans do not know where they will find the extra to do all these things that you want to do. So, can you have alternate minds who have studied this economics from top to bottom and have every idea about what you should do when a situation like this presents itself? So the truth of the matter is that we cannot, maybe the opposition, as it were, does not know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not knowing.
Does not know
what alternative they would present. But are there ways that you can start to think and say, you know what, maybe there are folks who know, and why can they not be incorporated in this discussion? Why can they not be incorporated in sometimes when you build this? Because just because you have a government in place does not mean that you cannot seek alternate views from those who are not in government. It happens all the time. PPPs were born on that idea.
Yes.
Governments were put in place because you had citizens participating in administration. Around the world, you have examples of them everywhere you go. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, man.
Actually,
but there's also something to be gained, negative or otherwise, by joining the fray and jumping up and down and saying, because that is what people are going to pay attention to.
You know what is of interest? The very constitution that we have that made it possible for us to have a budget-making parliament and everything we're discussing here was actually people-driven.
Yes.
In this country, we don't need many other examples. That was this constitution. This is now public participation brought about this constitution that we're talking about. So are you telling me, for instance, that something as touchy and something which has far-reaching consequences as this, because governments have fallen due to unpopular policies that they have tried to push through. Governments have seen the dust. You propose something and you think it'll get you somewhere and it has the complete opposite result. Surely, we have an avenue that enables us to look at things and discuss things in great detail. Have we exhausted all the avenues of discussions? I keep bringing this thing back. This idea of, do we involve academia in these things? Because there's something called best practices, things which have worked in other places. Forget ours. Can we not look at these things soberly and say, folks, this is a national discourse, okay? It's not a pissing contest, okay? No, it's not. What is it that will serve Kenyans best? If there are things in this finance bill that we find untenable, can we soberly look at it, not as the opposition has opposed it, but something that we need to tweak so that Kenyans actually benefit? As opposed to this idea of, we have said it, it's going to go through because we have said it, and there's nothing you can do. Now that is totally the wrong idea.
Completely.
Yeah, because you're bringing conflict when there need not be any. Collecting revenue, we understand, is how the government enables itself to have revenue to do what it's supposed to do. We get it. But can other thoughts come in? Because really, if we have this situation where brinkmanship is at the center of our discussion, then we're heading towards a precipice. We are not helping ourselves. Nothing positive is happening here.
And again, can you imagine? You talked about, is this an opportunity for these voices to coalesce?
Yes.
It's a big opportunity.
It is.
But I said it's not going to happen because lack of leadership.
Yes.
When I said that these guys are rudderless, idealess, and planless, this is what I mean. This is an opportunity where all these voices are saying no. Can you imagine if, for example, Azimio had held a meeting somewhere and said, for the next 1 week, what we'll be doing is we, as the leadership of Azimio plus our members of parliament, will be meeting with all these people who have issues to raise with their finance bill. We'd like to hear from you. What is it that you are opposed to?
Precisely.
And then we shall go and present that in parliament. And we shall come up with our own then draft bill and say, these are the amendments.
Given what we've been told.
Because of what the people have told us. This is what should then form the bulk of amendments to the finance bill. Having listened and engaged with the people. They'd be the ones who are carrying all these voices. But are they there? No. What are they saying? No, we are not going to have those bipartisan talks. We have until midnight to withdraw that thing or else. Come on. Come on, like really.
There's something about opportunity. There are those who say it waits for no man. And there are those who say that once it's lost, it cannot be regained. We haven't gotten there yet. We're still at a stage where we can take the advantage of this situation that we have and make the best we can out of it. Because you can't have a country whose main source of foreign exchange is human resource and their efforts. That is what brings us the bulk of our foreign exchange. And then you're telling us we do not have adequate human resource to be able to tease out what it is we need to do with this situation that we have.
Surely.
Nah.
Surely.
Nah. That's not possible. That's not possible.
Surely.
The resources available is simply not being utilized adequately.
But then the phone line is working. I see someone had tried calling Edwin Washira. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Who's that? Atia Bamboo Life. That's Minor. And it says, the KK government and Azimio leaders are behaving like the viral TikTok comical videos. I don't want peace. I want problem. Always.
Is that not an interesting perspective?
I don't want peace. I want problem always. Always the problem. Let's hear from James, who's calling in from Nairobi. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Latif.
How you doing?
City.
Morning.
Yeah. You said it perfectly well. Clueless, rudderless, zero option. I don't know what else. I mean, by now, someone was saying they were not ready. I mean, they were not ready. But you had already divided up posts and all that. What is the alternative? What is the alternative? So this is just games playing to the gallery, trying to remain relevant, pandering to the masses that we are with you. But the truth of the matter, they are not. I've never had any MP, whether in Azimio or KK, saying that I forfeit my sitting allowance. Because even during these public sittings, those MPs are drawing sitting allowance and mileage and everything.
That's true.
Give us an alternative.
That's true. Thank you, James. Thank you. 0719-012-600. What do you think? So we have this whole opposition to the finance bill.
Yeah.
And everything that people are saying about the finance bill, particularly those in opposition. And then also you've seen some leaders in Kenya Kwanza have also come out to raise issues and say, you know what, people are saying this to the finance bill. And when they met, apparently, with the president during the parliamentary group the other day, it was also a similar issue being discussed. And people saying, my people on the ground are telling me something different. Jane Karaoke.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Jane.
How are you today?
Very well.
Now, for me, what is puzzling me with this finance bill, the whole thing is that what they're looking for is where they can get money from the Kenyans.
Yeah.
When you run a business, and you start finding that you're getting losses, you look for places where you're going to cut your costs. Why is it that they're not telling us how they're going to cut down on some of these allowances that they have?
Mm-hmm.
I wish at least it was there was a mix of that. Okay, yeah, we can tax you a little bit here, but even as we are giving into our sitting allowances, we are giving into some of these loans that they take. Because I think if there's one thing that probably I've never heard anybody talk about, when you think about the loans that have been borrowed by these sitting MPs and all these people, and this is public funds to buy the houses that they buy, to buy the cars that they buy, because of the benefits they've given themselves, if all that money was to be taken into accounting, how much of it is this that they're sitting with? For me, this saddens me so much. I just had TT talk about now that Azimio, MPs not saying much about this finance bill. And I'm also now wondering, how sincere are they? For them, I think they wouldn't mind the government to get more money and they can now increase their salaries, as we are hearing, but they are looking into how they will get their allowances, especially the MCs increased. So I think at the end of the day, nobody really cares for the Mwananchi. A very, very sad situation. And I don't know how Kenyans are going to get out of this whole situation.
That's very true, Jane. Thank you very much for calling. Let's hear from Timothy in Bungoma. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Please switch off your radio. Please switch off your radio, Timothy.
Okay.
All right.
I'm speaking from Bungoma. I'm saying concerning the issue about what is happening in the government, I do propose that the president has just given us a good option of patriotism. And I do believe that just like a father giving some prescription to the children is best for our country. So 3% just is a patriotism, according to me.
So you support the finance bill?
Yeah, I support to the latter.
All right. Thank you, Timothy.
Okay.
Okay. And thank you very much for the calls and tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. This show is coming to an end. Just reminding you that we'll be running on Saturday.
Yes, indeed. The Matahat Run takes place on this Saturday, the 3rd of June, and coming out to support the children who can't afford, neither can their families afford, much needed surgeries for the congenital heart disease that they're born with. All right. So buy a t-shirt at 1,000 shillings, a cap at 500 and a wristband at 300. Any of your